this opportunity to change the game into
And
this
we're back.
direction where we are heading.
I think it killed me at 3.5 hours.
Finally have all the tools in place to actually allow meaningful multi-crew gameplay and meaningful decisions for all the players, where every decision counts. This is the stuff.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you found your way here.
Makes me really proud of what we are working on right now.
Thank you for letting us share our progress with you, and we hope you're happy with all this progress, and have a nice CitCon.
Hey, Rusty. Yeah, that was weird. I guess YouTube.
Our Citizen Singapore card is really cool.
That is really cool. A little jealous.
At me playing with it for the last 18 minutes. That was that was Dan Truffin. And
Yeah, the room systems is one that they've
management system, and joining us to follow up on it.
they've been talking about for years. So
John Crew, guys,
big deal, and it looks like they finally got it working.
I know we still got a ways to go. I don't make it
Ish.
sound like it's
Well,
it's done, but
yeah.
but
Soon.
I mean, how exciting is this? This is
Very. This to me brings the interaction that we want in environments, but also in ships. So like you said with the multi-crew stuff, but like again, it's not only going to be in ships. We're also putting in environments.
Yeah, this is what's necessary to.
They finally learned to do
play
the ship sail at the end of the show,
Not the only thing, but
not the
Yeah, but
beginning, because people would just kind of
just bringing the interaction into
jump in and
so the AI
see
will
what the new
react,
ship
the
was
player
and jump
reacts,
off. Now,
it's
gonna stay and
it's
watch.
having that interaction level that you don't normally get in games. So that's what
Very
we're
much soon, TM.
being able to make, imagine Siege of Orison, but being able to actually assault the platforms and,
Yeah.
and depower the platforms. Missions that can take place.
Turn off the
inside
floaters and
landing zones
drop
where
it to
you
the
can
crush
cut
zone.
power to buildings and stuff like this. I mean, this is what really opens the game.
Yeah.
This is a big,
And John,
big deal.
as they said in the segment, the first place this is going to come is ships.
Yeah.
So, what's the first version of this look like?
So first version is
Hammerhead.
going to be a lot of what you saw in that video. So we're working through some of the ships now. Hammerhead, Hull, Star Runner, just to prove out
Hull?
because naturally
Whole
some
A.
ships were built
Okay, he's
a long
English,
time ago.
right?
One's in
I was
recent
thinking
times were
Calais
built
was
with
some new
this sort
ship.
of level of detail in mind.
How much of the 500
Yeah,
million
you'll
did this
have all the
set
components
cost?
accessible, you'll be able to get to the relays, do all this management. Something
60,
really cool in that,
70K,
video was
I would guess. It
fire
looks
and gravity and atmosphere stuff. And like I
pretty
said,
nice.
It goes from just being a ship
It gets
going
a
on
wet
board
bar.
to like an interactive piece of the puzzle that gives you that multi-crew gameplay. You're not just limited to be, I'm a pilot, I'm a turret gunner, that's about it. Now engineers
Yeah,
and
it's
support roles are going to have
whole
a
A.
huge part to play on ships because things will go wrong.
It's like Calais. It's
And if you don't
a
get on
new
top of it
Xeon
quickly,
ship. He just,
it's going to be a very bad time
let it
for
slip.
all involved.
it is not.
Yeah, like I said before we set it up,
Yeah, this would be big
this
deal.
is the aspect of Star Citizen that first drew me, in. So
Same.
it's been I feel like I've been very patient and waiting, really wanting to see
When I
this go,
designed my
because I
game, the
see,
goal was to have
everybody
a
on the
bridge
YouTube,
crew.
everybody
You
that's
wouldn't have
super
control the
excited,
entire ship.
super
You'd just be
excited
the
to
bridge
see it,
crew. But
really beginning to evolve and really beginning to
this
to be
kind of
used
aspect of
tangibly
the
in our
game was what I
prototypes
was
and stuff
trying to
like that.
create
That's just-
way back in the
I think
day.
people know I don't generally hype.
So, yeah, this is why I
guys
backed.
in here, it's like, don't hype. Manage your expectations and stuff. And you should still do that. I'm
by
not
Hesperia.
changing that.
Right, I think that's what we'll
This
see.
is the part of the thing that I've been waiting for personally.
Yeah.
I'm
H still in the room with you? Still watching this?
all right.
Here
So,
comes the
we
ships.
Ping pong from the visuals to the gameplay, to the visuals to the gameplay, to the visuals to the gameplay.
It's going to be right into
We've
John,
only
Ben,
got
and
one
Paul.
more scheduled presentation left. Ship talk, talking ship. Our annual celebration of vehicles, new coming to the pipeline, vehicles coming straight to flyable things, something in the middle. That's going to star John Crew and Ben Curtis.
Ooh,
and
got
Paul
another little
Jones,
freeze
and I'll
there.
let them take it away.
Oh, what's my live stream title saying? I had to set it up quick, so I just hit refresh, so it's probably still going off the old one.
Hi everyone, my name is John Crew. I'm the Vehicle Director here at Cloud Imperium Games. This year I'm once again joined by Ben Curtis, Vehicle Art Director, and Paul Jones, Concept Art Director. and this is our yearly Ship Talk panel. Like previous years, we'll be talking about something coming soon, something being announced today, something coming a bit later, and then the fan favourite, the Pick a Ship or Vehicle concept series.
They always build all the ships. Spirit of Crusader?
To kick things off this year, we're going to be talking about our new concept ship, which is the Crusader Spirit. This is a
Bomber?
series of ships from Crusader Industries that is designed to take on a variety of other manufacturers' ships at the two-person crew level and does a wide variety of tasks depending on which
pretty.
variant you pick. The two standout competitors to this ship are naturally the Cutlass and obviously the Cutlass Blue,
Freelancer.
Red, Steel, and the Freelancer series. Those are all similar sized ships to this, and they also cover similar sort of roles. Compared to the Cutlass and Freelancer series, the Spirit benefits from not only Crusader Industries' sort of stylish physical variants, but also their renowned speed and agility over those other variants. We have three variants of the Crusader Spirit. We have the C1, which is the cargo hauler version. We have the A1, which is the light to sort of medium bomber version. And then we have the E1, which is the executive VIP transport version.
One of the really nice features of the Spirit series as a whole is the front half of the ship is kind of like this shared area, and it's the rear section that swaps out.
So
Yeah,
the
it's
C1
pretty.
is the cargo hauler version. This comes with 48
Might be
SEU
trading
cargo
in my
capacity
Freelancer
in the
Max,
central
one of the
area.
first pledges I had.
Accessible like the other versions via the rear ramp. It's wide enough to allow a variety of
Still like my
ground-based vehicles
MSR.
on board, such as the Cyclone. You won't be fitting larger things in it like the tank. However,
Tom,
with the size of the cargo bay,
say it
obviously,
right.
you can put a vehicle and still have some cargo capacity left over.
Yeah,
The
Genesis.
A1 is the bomber
Soon.
version of the Spirit.
Like 3 years.
Which sort of splits the difference between the Hercules A2
That's cool.
bomber version, which has both size
Ooh.
10 and size 3 bomb options. This comes with size 5 bombs, and they are arranged in two vertical gravity dropped formations down each
Tight.
side of the central area. So you have a nice little walkway down the middle, and then you have the two.
My Freelancer Miss might be getting melted for this.
To see them drop out of the bottom of the ship.
It delivers a different role to what the Starlifter does in terms of the bomber. I think it's a much kind of smaller, faster ship, so it's much more agile. You're going to be kind of getting in and out and you know, doing your bombing run and then getting back out of the danger zone quite quickly. So it feels quite familiar in that sense.
Troop drop
but it does
potential.
deliver
That's an idea, Knight. I didn't think about that. Put people in nails. Nails are what they call the little
So you might
drops.
be asking yourself which one's better, and it really depends on what you want to wipe at your bombing. Obviously, the A2 has both heavy hitters and what could be described as carpet bombing, whereas this is sort of for when you
Precision.
don't want to completely annihilate everything on the ground. And lastly, we have the E1 variant, which solely exists to give Jared Hartman.
Oh, did it just drop? I'll call it up,
So
Knight.
this is a sort of taste of what the Starliner will
Figured they'd go
get in the
live with it
future,
immediately.
but on a much smaller scale.
VIP1 is a really interesting module.
We'll do that after the stream. I'll kind of go through that.
2 levels. And so, you know, we really wanted to sort of have that VIP experience. Obviously, you're coming into a sort of multi-role ship, but when you get into the module, you've got lockers, space to put any sort of personal belongings. Essentially, you're going to 2 elevators, left or right, and take you up to the top deck. So it has that sort of first-class feeling.
I think what really makes the E1 stand
Yeah,
out
we put it over
compared to
here.
some other ships is
So,
the kind of
this is what it looks
large
like right now,
panoramic
gang.
glass roof. So when you're in this kind of shared VIP area,
Yep,
you're going to
go
have
back.
great views and be able
Kind
to
of
like explore the
show
berths
that person.
in something that I think is going to be quite unique.
And we also have the Mixmaster, which is at the front of the module, which is basically where players can go and choose whatever the drink it is. So it's, you know,
Shoot,
cocktail,
Mixmaster.
coffee. Then players will also have super comfy seats. They'll have the widescreen TV in the module.
I'm really excited to see when we start getting our players and our AIs into these ships. And
Oh,
able to
look at the
explore
seats.
berths
Yeah.
and, you know, experience that kind of luxury living that
Back over.
I've not yet to experience.
So between the three variants, there are a number of shared areas. The sort of core of the ship.
Size 3 tractor beam. Let's go back.
Aspects which don't need to change. And starting from the front of the ship, you naturally have the cockpit.
The size 5 guns?
So like other Crusader ships, you have the side-by-side pilot.
God, that looks sleek.
Then you have behind them their living quarters / bunk area and component access.
Yeah, the passenger carrier, medium passenger carrier was one of my theories.
The sort of internal floor plan of the ships between them. Then at the rear of the ship, you naturally have the
let me look, Rusty.
area. So that's the Crusader Spirit. We hope you look forward to seeing this.
Doesn't look like it. It comes with crimson paint. It only costs $100.
Something at the very start of our vehicle.
$100 war bond. That is not bad for a ship that big.
Drake Corsair next.
All right, here's the Corsair. So yeah, that's.
Drake Corsair is an important ship in the lineup because it fills that multi-crew exploration.
Go back to Corsair before.
In their lineup, we've seen a lot of Drake ships.
I'll keep poking around, see if I can find things.
And roles, such as the
yeah, that crimson paint is
sexy. You naturally have the Constellation, the 600i, as the competitors, and what Drake brings is its usual rugged, overwhelming amount of firepower for its size, sort of classification to that entry.
It's Drake's dedicated exploration ship. It's a kind of a medium, deep space vessel, effectively. It's got a crew for up to.
They got a few paints, but the crimson one is the sexiest. I'll show you guys the other ones in a second.
It's got a sizable cargo hold, and it's kind of got everything that you need.
Yeah, of course they're sexy. Le Signe is mine.
From civilization, away from stations, and just kind of being able to chart out those deep areas of space.
It's from Merchanter's luck.
No nonsense, no frills approach to the ship, and you know if something's going to go wrong, it's going to be something that you more than likely can fix, and it's not going to be something that you have to cut back to a main dealer.
Yeah, it's an
fix. It's something that
exploration ship.
The crew will be able to kind of repair and get back on running, or just fix with some duct tape.
So fans, when they see the ship, well,
with all the concept art for the Spirit, that might have been the 70-week item. I don't think so. No, that's
so you can,
that was the medium freelancer one that I was looking at.
Easy kind of feel. It's loaded with guns.
They're in the process of making it.
It has some really interesting.
So I think that big one's going to be an IA. They've been teasing.
I think what's quite
an Anvil capital ship for years.
Its wings, the way they fold up.
Could be wrong. Maybe it was this one. They just have really hard time concepting it. But I don't think so.
Much easier. We put quite a lot of effort into keeping that really iconic exterior kind of silhouette and vision that we set, but still making it functional and making sure it works. At the moment, we're just kind of finishing up on final art. Most of the exterior has had,
of course they will explore other people's cargo holds. Exactly.
We've still got lighting to do. We've still got kind of
like
final finishing to do, tweak some of the materials till we're properly happy.
Creative procurement specialist.
It's in a good place, so I'm really excited to be able to show you.
So let's take a look inside the ship.
Let's.
Once again, we'll go front to back.
On the inside of the ship, we start right at the front on the cockpit. The Corsair has quite a unique feel to its cockpit.
They brought back the fan.
The pilot is kind of sat right up front, and then kind of classic kind of Drake stylings, the co-pilot gets in the seat behind.
Can go down. There we go. Not no dirty way.
Transition from the main cockpit area into that kind of co-pilot kind of section. It's you move right forward and you're sat pretty much underneath where the pilot is. It gives great visibility for both the pilot and the co-pilot.
I want to see what those side guns can do.
Again, you've got these massive guns that stuck out either side
of you. They're gimbaled.
So it should be a nice place to be. In the rear of the cockpit, we've got the captain's quarters. So the captain's quarters is actually pretty much identical to the rest of the quarters in the ship in terms of its kind of size and its amenities. As you move back through the ship, there's they
actually have separate crew rooms. It's pretty sick.
From here,
either
progress backwards straight into habitation.
I don't know if it'll replace Cloudbreakers, my daily driver, but it's
right really at the
nice ship.
Neck of the ship, effectively.
The side turrets have changed a little since the concept phase. They now have a greater range of motion in sort of the axis. We're quite limited at concept stage to about 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Each way, you're now looking at.
They set them up like the Carrick. Good. We were talking about this last night when I was dropping with the Orc.
Of course, Corsair has
So
so many guns pointing forwards. Having an extra 2 turrets is very, very Drake.
In habitation, we've got, you've got the remaining
Nice setup.
3 crew quarters that being
Utilitarian.
great, they are no frills. You've got a bed, you've got somewhere to store your gear, and that's pretty much it. The main habitation area though is, if anything, quite luxurious for a Drake ship in that there's a decent sized space. You've got your
Is
bathroom,
Drake.
which is no frills. It's got a shower, it's got a toilet.
You
whatever.
poop in the middle of the room.
The
Make
kind of towel
strong
line
eye
for
contact
all
with
the
everybody
food
as you
and
do
everything
it.
you need to survive. And then right in the heart of the
You would
habitation
not
area,
want
there's a large kind of
open
sizable,
cups for utensils
seating
in a
area.
spaceship.
That's not just for the crew to have their meals. It's for somewhere that you can plan operations, plan your next move, and really decide where you're taking your adventure. As
Watch
we
the alien
move
burst
back
out of the
from habitation,
chest.
we start to get into like the rear half of the ship. I think if the habitation area is like the heart of the crew in the ship, then the engineering area is the real heart of the ship itself.
Battery.
It's sort of this octagonal, hexagonal space with a few little rooms coming off it to cram components
It's
in.
like the third
On
ship
one of
we've
those,
seen
we
that
have
has a
the side
battery
lock, which
component on it.
has suit lockers and weapon lockers in there for before you
Weapon
go
lockers.
into EVA or docking or coming back out of before you enter the rest of the ship.
And then you've also got the lift, and the lift not only goes down to ground level, but it also takes you up to the roof of the ship. So if you do want to go on
No,
a
you don't
quick
use.
spacewalk,
Oh,
or you want to
nice.
repair something on the exterior, then you've got kind of easy access straight up the lift. And
That's
Then finally
original.
at the rear you have the main cargo hold, which has space
So
for a
in the
rover,
original Cuddy,
similar-sized vehicles
the
in there,
toilet was
along the
right
way.
next to
You
the
have to get
beds, which were in the
and,
cargo bay.
Being a
It's
directive, there's
so
a huge
weird.
ramp on the back of it. All the mechanics are exposed. You can really see the workings of how the ship.
That
actually
is looking
operates.
sick.
Found a Drake. It certainly ticks all those boxes.
So I think the Corsair is a particularly cool ship. I love the styling of it, love the asymmetric wing arrangement of it. I think it's just going to be a great, fun addition to the game, giving those sort of players who enjoy that Drake experience their slice of the pie. And you'll be able to experience that yourselves at IAE this year. And a vehicle coming later today, a vehicle that's at the end of the pipeline, we have the Cat Stv.
There we go.
Racing is a cool and fun aspect of Star Citizen, and it's something that we've seen that backers really enjoy doing and organising.
It's a racer?
themselves, and something that we really want to
Funny.
help support.
Didn't think it was a
from
racer.
CIG. So we wanted to bring a new vehicle to the verse, which is where the STV came from.
So the STV is the Cat sports terrain vehicle. It builds on what they learned from the PTV, but it brings it out of the hangars, off of the tarmac, and onto much more rugged terrain.
It's a
bigger
four-wheeler,
Tonka truck.
two-person open-topped, sports styling, everything you need to razz around on the planets. So the STV is actually part of a wider family of vehicles. You may recognise a resemblance in the name to the Cat PTV, which is also part of that family. And we also have a third vehicle lined up that we want to do in the future called the UTV, which is the utility terrain vehicle. And
cool.
we've actually reconcepted the PTV, and we have the concept for the UTV.
Here's a gun.
And when you see all three side by side, you'll see that family resemblance.
The interior again is similar.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the
Simple
UTV.
layout, easy to clean. That was a big thing for us, even though we don't have like a cleaning mechanic. All this sort of builds into the sort of visuals of the vehicle. So, the floors have got drill holes in them, so it can easily let water through. The seats are easily removable, so you can actually see the.
Rusty says he doesn't like the
So all
STV.
of
They
the
should
thinking goes into
nerf the whole roster and make room for a new
wheels are a
vehicle.
big feature.
Eh,
Lots
it's
of rubber.
it's an LTI token.
guards.
It's
It
is what it is. UTV looks pretty cool.
In terms of the roll cage, the sort of cross section of all these things. Maybe
Might
you
have a
could
place if they
notice that
start
for us,
actually doing
overall,
city driving.
part of making a manufacturer consistent.
Okay, talk about the Bane Merchant Man.
Delivers that gameplay that is you and a buddy out exploring over our planets. We've got these vast ships that you can explore deep space and go off with your big multi-crews. But what this really allows you to do is get down on one of our many planets and go exploring on the ground. It's not just a vehicle for you and a friend. It's also got kind of some cargo space in the back. So if you are out there doing missions, rather than having to fly your ship
it does have cargo
to where the mission is, it allows you to land, slightly
nice.
out there,
Okay,
slightly in a
that's.
safer area. You've still got space to load up with weapons. Load
I
up
assume that's
with
dropping
your,
with 318.
whatever
That's
mission items you need, and get in and out nice and quick.
Compared to the
Okay, that's kind of cool. I was a little bit worried about that.
Variant of a non-racing vehicle, the STV was built from the ground up to be a good racing vehicle. It has a good chassis, it has better handling, it has better top speed, and that's what makes it a compelling racing choice.
The best things about Star Citizen as a whole is it kind of brings a lot of gameplay, and it's not all about combat. It's not all about flying these massive ships. And I think one of the things that a lot of us are excited internally about is racing within our game. A lot of us come from a racing background in terms of the games we've developed before. A lot of us are petrol heads at heart. So I think being able to build on that kind of gameplay in Star Citizen is super exciting for us.
And if you stick around
They
to
even
the end
did
of
the sun
broadcast,
visor.
you'll get your first chance at seeing the STV in action in a race organised by Atmo Esports, creators of the Daymar Rally, where you'll see it taking on the terrain for the first time. You'll be able to pick one of these vehicles up today at the end of the broadcast.
You're right. STV looks like the Jurassic
And
Park
finally,
Jeep. It really
the most
does.
important aspect of these inaugural shows, the pick a
I
ship
gotcha.
concept challenge.
Now they just need a T-Rex in game, right?
Have seen previous years, you will have seen that we've thrown up some silhouettes of potential ship and vehicle options.
They've already got these ships in the
asked for
pipeline.
your feedback on which one we should actually make. And the wise among you have probably realised that we end up making pretty much all of them anyway. So instead of just doing that again and pretending that we're not going to do that, we thought we'd do something slightly different this year and just have a single ship option. And the choice is actually the manufacturer and the styling of that ship. So we want to do a nice large civilian mining ship that bridges the gap between the Argo Mole and the RSI Orion, because if you know those two ships,
Some Starfarer
there's quite
sized.
a gulf of space in between them. We wanted to fill that gap with an intermediary stepping stone before you jump into the big
Work in progress
RSI
crab
Orion,
could
which
fulfill that role.
the scale of its mining is nothing like any other mining ship in the game. The Mole is the current mining system.
The Sidness is about the size of the Mole. It's a little bit bigger.
We want to increase that and also provide onboard space for our ground mining vehicles such as the Rock and the Rock DS, which allows you the flexibility of taking on any mining situation that you can come across. So with that, we have three choices, which are basically the manufacturers. We have RSI as the first choice. So obviously RSI do the Orion, so this would be a smaller vehicle in that family. We have Argo, again, we have the Mole, so naturally it could be a larger step up.
I was hoping we get that
we have MISC, the third
UFO.
option. Obviously MISC do the Prospector, so again, keeping it all within the same family. As you can see from these images,
do a vote
these
here,
have
so
their
chat's
sort
gone
of
away
own
for a second.
unique styling take on that pitch that I've just given you. At the end of this Ship Talk panel, Jared will come on and explain how you get to vote on these three options. And that's the end of Talking Ship, so over to you, Jared.
Interesting. They didn't mention the BMM at all.
All right, and so the Crusader
Yeah, Argo is my vote too. I want to see that Argo UFO.
RobertSpaceIndustries.com website. The STV is coming to the the universe at the end of the broadcast, just in time for the
in-game.
Atmo Esports racing event that's happening after this. And the Corsair will be making its way to you at this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And to vote on this year's John Cruise Pick a Ship Challenge thingy, I think he called it. There is a comlink on the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website where you can go and vote on the manufacturer for the next big mining ship. So, John, recently you went through and just nuked all the speeds of all the ground vehicles, and obviously you did that so that the STV could be the fastest.
That's certainly one take on, on what happened. To talk about it a bit more,
STV is not on the story yet.
For quite some time. As we know, game development timelines go all over the place. So we'd actually done this for 318 Evocati, which sadly did not come out before 317.3 went live. So we did that because, quite frankly, a lot of those vehicles were ludicrous speeds, like 55 meters a second is like over 120 miles an hour off-road.
Yeah, off-road. That's
Off-road, 120 miles an hour is terrifying, especially on like
It's a little scary.
Star Citizen planets with rocks that would just kill you. So we want to bring the cyclones down. We want to sort of rebalance everything. Not everything has gone as intended.
I'm seeing $100 war bond for the C1 Spirit plus Crimson Pate there, Knight.
But the idea was
C1 Spirit, so that's the cargo version. Yeah, that's the only one that they've got.
In 3.17.3, which unfortunately is how it turned out.
Solo, or you could get it.
Go, the Crusade, the Spirit looks
The
amazing.
collection.
Yes.
Like
Spirit does look good.
When you say, I gotta ask you, when you say this is a small taste of what players can expect for the Starliner, which anybody should know is my favorite.
Crimson skin is sexy.
That's still not out yet, John.
Yeah.
Here's a little taste what it could be.
When you say a little taste, what does that mean? I'm asking for me, not for these people. I'm asking for me. What does that mean?
So obviously the Starliner is quite an old concept. We didn't really do a huge amount of interior look development, so the time we spent on the Spirit E1, the E1 Spirit, is really what we're going to build on for that. So you're going to have like that VIP first class pod enclosure. Mixmaster, the most important feature of the Starliner.
I still have no idea how that's going to work.
Ask Tony, it'll be fine.
It'll be
that,
fine.
That sort of feel, that luxury transport feel, is something we
Jared
haven't really
always
showed with
roast
Star
John
Citizen.
Crew.
Every man and their donkey was pestering me for that Horizon Shuttle concept, and we'd planned to do like a Crusader Cutlass.
I personally sent my donkey after him.
A working name, and I hated it because it got abbreviated like the 3 C's.
Donkey!
We just called it the ship the 3 C's the entire time. And then there was that sort of vocal uprising about, hey, John Crew, give me that Horizon Shuttle, and that sort of the two things merged together, and that's where it came from.
And then the Grey Cat Stv, which will be our straight-to-drivable vehicle, going live on the website and stuff at the end of this broadcast.
Into the broadcast, okay.
That's an exciting, push in the Grey Cat.
Yes.
In the Grey Cat arena. It looks sporty as heck.
Yeah.
And it was neat to see a sneak peek of the UTV as well, which I'm assuming is going to come sometime later on.
Yeah. It's not in active development right now, but when we decided to do the STV, we were like, hey, let's spend the time, let's work out what Grey Cat as a manufacturer looks like and feels like. Because we had the PTV, people have seen the big Spider Minor from back in the day. They're two very different things.
Right.
There wasn't really...
our side might actually have a better look
around that.
than...
Like, here's the reworked PTV, still looks how everyone recognizes it.
I'm trying to decide which one would be most likely to push out that...
Let's do a utility version, and so we've got those three together now. That you can
push out the UFO.
The family lineup. And the
MISC,
slightly different.
probably.
Cool. But yeah, the STV is that.
So I'm going about
Dune buggy thing to just razz around.
No, it's really cool. I really like the styling of it. So, if you, we've got one small thing left, and then one rather large surprise left. So we'll do the small thing first, and then buckle up because I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you in like 5 minutes. Before we get there, during last year's
yeah, because there's a huge concept out there.
We explored a lot of the outlaw lifestyle, their outposts, the space stations and stuff. We thought we'd do a little sizzle to follow up on how those things have evolved in the year since. So get ready. We're going to show a quick sizzle.
Perseus rather than Connie. I'll go for that.
Will be a neat surprise.
Still want to see that UFO. Okay, here we go, people. I have no idea what this is. Well, outpost, obviously, but... Nice. God, that's looking good. I'll be in my bunk. To duck in through the broken door. It's a Drake structure. No, we're not fixing it. Just duck in. Nice. I want to be able to spray paint things. They need a spray paint module on the prisoners. Need a spray paint module for the multi-tool. I definitely won't be doing penises on every single ship I see. They've already got a Spirit Q&A up. Oh, that's pretty. This looks pretty far along in development. There's your asteroid bases, by the way, that I've been talking about for a while. God, that is huge. Ooh. Yeah, this is what I was hoping for the asteroid bases. I'm assuming those are coming with Pyro. Kind of wrap up at the same time. Am I just not seeing is it under announcements? I'll check that later. Yeah, the hangars on that base are incredible. RR. Rusted Root? I think they broke up. Yeah, it's looking a lot better. They showed off this concept either in 2020 or last year. They were talking about the Pyro stations. That's looking real good. Looks like a nightmare for getting caught on things, though. Lots of atmosphere on that, man. That looks good. Look how far along that is. That's Ruin Station. That is Ruin Station right there. Wow. That's looking good.
Lifestyle, a glimpse at how the outposts and the space stations have evolved since we saw them at last year's CitizenCon 2951. Now, if you've been following our program today, you might think this is it. We're near the end.
Yep, okay, people, we're out. Okay.
Surprise in store. Joining us on the show today are two people who probably need no introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. Founder and CEO, Mr. Chris Roberts.
Who?
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jared.
Welcome to the spaceship. Welcome back to the spaceship. You opened the show today.
I know.
And
he was on
Squadron
at the start.
game director, Mr. Richard Tyrer.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. This is your first time on the spaceship.
It is.
They are beaming.
I think it's very nice.
Squadron 42 moving to beta.
I'm just going to ask everybody how it thinks all day. So Chris, Rich, you're here. Are we going to talk a little bit about Squadron 42? Is that what we're doing?
Called it.
Well, yes and no. So both me and Rich
Maybe not.
have been heads down working really hard on Squadron as well as helping out on the PU. And one thing that we've thought that would maybe better to reiterate is there's a huge amount of work that we're doing on Squadron that is going to make a massive difference to Star Citizen, the PU.
They need to poke him though. Make sure he's alive.
We wanted maybe to talk about some of the things that we're doing, because I know a lot of people say, well, everyone's working on Squadron, no one's working on the PU, and that's not really true, because a huge amount of the core gameplay that we're working on Squadron is specifically being built not just for Squadron, but to benefit the PU, and we're just doing it in sort of the test kitchen of Squadron to allow us to really, polish and make sure the features work well without having to be caught up in the sort of quarterly release cycle that you have on the PU, because we were finding it was hard for us to really finish the features out. You know, we'd get a tier 0 out, and then it would just sort of sit around for a while because everyone was rushing on to the next set of features they wanted to do. And for Squadron, obviously, it's shipping as a final polished AAA title, so everything needs to be really put together, working really well, and playing great. And so we're trying in the setup that we're doing now to do that for the features that we've identified that we need.
It could be Tony Z with the mask.
But also
it's true.
Will play across into the PU.
You never see him in the same place at the same time.
Tell you all about some of the subtle things and the gameplay aspects that we're working on that maybe you haven't heard from Todd or Tony or everyone else that like in today and
Get to
during
it.
the ISCs, because we sort of try to keep the Squadron stuff close to our chest to really sort of surprise and impress people when we do it. And so we thought, why don't we just come by and maybe just talk about little things, maybe show you a sneak peek of something here and there, and not everything, because
don't spoil.
to keep it close to our chest until it's really ready to let the baby out of the carriage and it's beautifully dressed and all the rest of it. But hopefully it'll give you guys some insight to what's happening, and also understand that a huge amount of the development resources, even if you think they're working on Squadron, are ultimately working on stuff that will be
Another vertical slice, maybe?
So let's talk a little bit more about that before we jump into the actual features. This co-development has been part of the process since the project was first introduced 10 years ago. Congratulations on 10 years, by the way. Rich, talk to me a little bit about this co-development. You started with the PU, and then you've now gone over to the Squadron 42. So you've worked in both. You've worked in both environments. You know the struggle of T0 features and the quarterly releases for the PU, and now you're getting to kind of, your experience is different on Squadron. Talk to me about how that's changed and how it's still, work for one still benefits the other, or will ultimately.
Well, when I worked on the PU, it wasn't really the PU or Squadron. It was always, we were working on features that pushed for both projects. So the focus when we were on the PU, or when we were more PU focused, was that we would make sure that we were getting features up and running, developed to the specifications that we needed them to work in a multiplayer environment, and then getting them out into the audience's hands, on quarterly releases. But the biggest issue, I think,
Rusty, they are good at burying the lead.
Over the years, or even
they did this with the BMM last year, and I
get features
just
the way
about
that
lost it.
CIG set up is we have feature teams and we have content teams. So what would happen is we'd develop a feature and then we'd push it to the live audience to get feedback around that feature. But there would almost be a lag with the importance of that feature and turning that from a singular thing into an experience, a game.
Oh man, Tyree's been here since
a part of a fun game. So we always had this lag.
The beginning, but damn, yeah, he does kind of look like him, doesn't he?
And use the feature, and we were trying to change the feature. So I think this kind of pulled it back a bit, allowed us to really focus on both the content and the feature at the same time, because it allowed us to bring it as under one umbrella, which is Squadron 42. So we were able to get that feature in the game, not as a T0, but as a fully whole, capable gameplay experience that, myself, Chris, we can play and enjoy it and go, is this right? Do we need to make it better? How does it feel? And also prove that out with the
been doing a
content
ton of polishing on those
once we then
chapters.
Developed that and honed it and, almost cast it in that
They
iron,
absolutely
in the kind of thing.
cannot
we can then
have
move it into the PU.
a cyberpunk launch.
Ultimately, it's not that they're going to get features later, because they would have had them probably earlier, but just not ready. Or I can pick a few features right now where you think, well, there's not really a huge purpose for them. Mounted guns is a good example. It's not really a huge purpose for them in the PU right now, but we're making sure that any feature that we work on has that purpose. So when it does go into the PU, into the game, people can use it and experience it how we wanted it to be designed and how we wanted it to be, because we struggle a few times. Say, for example, actor status is a good example. We have this
He's
vision
one of those
how
guys, they stopped having him on
across this broad spectrum of the game.
Inside Star Citizen, Star Citizen Live, because he would just
never really gives you the true intentions of where
give away too much information, sort of like Tony Z, and you'd be like, wait, what?
And then give it to the PU audience, and I think fundamentally it's better for the development of the features, and it's better for the gameplay experience that both players will experience in both products.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Is that it's before we were developing the sort of features in isolation, and then they sort of went into try to get used in Squadron and try to get used in the PU, but they weren't really developed iteratively with content, and so that's the reason why we sort of pulled back some of the stuff and are working on Squadron, is because then we can iterate it with actual gameplay content, which is what Rich is talking about, to make sure it feels well and right with the time to bake it in without having to feel like, oh, okay, we've got a quarterly release out. And because, there's a lot that goes on with the quarterly release in terms of it's not just that one feature. There's all these other things that go into it. And
what? No, it's easy.
Publishing and splitting off the streams. And so there's a huge amount of effort.
You don't want to cross the streams.
releases, it sort of eats into your development time in terms of doing the feature. And so pulling it out of that sort of loop and saying, okay, we're going to work with it in Squadron to really make it.
I don't have a fast forward button for him.
T0 version, we've really got it down. It feels.
I would have used it for Squadron 42.
It feels good.
Rusty, sitting here for 4.5 hours and now they're stalling. Yeah, kind of.
On our side,
they've got the two talkers here. The only way they could make it worse is to put Tony Z in the mix and add in 300 you knows. Disco's all like, okay, okay, you're the boss, but
we are addressing right now in Squadron specifically for both Squadron and the PU that's gonna, and we'll show you a couple of little things that will help with.
Will you?
But essentially, if you think of core gameplay in terms of
power of Christ compels
some core
you.
areas what we call the the sort of the actor system, which would be the FPS, the
You're upsetting my dog.
On foot, interacting with things. The vehicle.
He almost
stuff,
moved.
Which, like John Crew heads up, but the whole vehicle systems and you've already seen some presentations today on things that are very specific to vehicles. Like the sort of need for multiple speeds and also the resource network, which is going to first roll out in vehicles. But
yeah, resource network was an awesome bit. That one was good.
Are sort of core gameplay systems that we have.
Yeah,
so
thanks for putting on a show, kid.
Now is that we're taking some of these systems and really just.
If you didn't eat grass, you wouldn't be a G.
For Squadron, and then bam, they're going to come across into the PU. Another good example, which hasn't been talked today very much by on the vehicle side of the Need for Speed, but you probably saw, in the different modes, there needs to be more stuff on the HUD, and we've got a whole redesign that's happening on the HUD and the MFDs.
Coming pretty soon,
very
too.
Different than what you have now. First of all, it's using universal.
I had a sneaky suspicion that the HUD would be dropping in 3.18.
On what your context is.
It'll be close. It'll be close. They might be able to sneak it in for 3.18. If not, 3.19 we'll be getting our new HUD.
And we're building this system to work well.
I voted for MISC, by the way.
In Squadron, and then it will get rolled out to the PU, which has obviously much wider range ships. But as we're designing it, we're building it with both Squadron and the PU in mind. And so these
still haven't dropped the STV yet.
Star Map forever. Or,
you don't want to say STV too fast.
I mean, there's right now, I think, 3 engineers.
Catch something.
A couple of visualists.
Okay, these guys are going to babble for a while.
The new Star Map, which people haven't had, it's been in.
I'll keep watching the stream on my other screen, but here, so you got $100 for the C1 Spirit plus the Crimson Paint. It is Concierge. C1 Spirit flat. This is War Bond, so I mean you got to pay real money for it. 110 if you want to upgrade or whatever.
Ultimately, it's going to be good for the PU.
Is he going?
Are going to sort of come together.
He's been quiet for too long, and now he's not shutting up. Right, Rusty? We got the executive collection here, which I'm guessing
one is the fact that
is all of the paints, maybe?
Features has got the microscope of that specific feature, but
what all is in here?
Together to create the game.
That's a War Bond.
So it's about bringing them all together to create
what's in
that
it?
gameplay experience.
Okay, so that's got all 3 types of ships in it, which is weird because they're only, and then they got the paints down here. That's like the Night Runner paint right there.
In the Inception,
Intrepid.
We have in our hands.
But
we can play it, we can see it, we're feedbacking on it. So it's something that
that is hot. And chances are that one,
pull back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah. That said, some of the things that we're going to
is the carnival colors right there.
Start getting into it here. Some of the things will have aspects to show.
Yeah, they're only selling the C1. They're not selling the other ones yet.
Will be presented in
back to stream.
test maps because we don't want to give away any Squadron 42 specific locations and stuff like that. That said, I think we can maybe show some stuff in Asiato because people have
we already showed that at one location.
So you guys ready to?
Hopefully, get to see some of the new Vandal combat. They've been wrapping that this week.
Rich, you were the AFT guy. Now you're the whole Squadron game guy. But let's start with something that affects everybody. This is a first-person universe, after all. Let's talk about the FPS radar and the player interaction system stuff. What can you tell us about how this?
Good. Because this one's wrapped pretty soon.
I think I've given a talk on FPS radar and scanning in the past, and I think the biggest thing that when we look at what Star Citizen is now, what's the first thing that you do? You know, you're in your bed. How do you interact with the game? How do you interact with the environment that's around you? Doors, getting into your ship. How do you interact with kiosks? And a lot of the thing that we realized is that, you know, and it's not something new, it's just something we've always wanted to get to, is how does the player interface with the game? How do they translate their controls and what they want them to do, you know, ultimately in the universe that they're playing? And how does that then translate in the computer game so that it does what you expect it to do? And I think one of the biggest things was the player interaction experience, where we kind of used this terminology.
Really wants to see the new UI.
That's like
whoa, Rue had something to say.
Thought,
Rue wants him to get to it.
All
yeah, I hear it.
Umbrella systems that kind of sit underneath this main kind of like saga.
Ferocious guard dog.
And I think that's one of the things that we really want to improve.
You're fine. He'll get to it. I promise. I promise. You can't bark at him. They're in England right now. They can't hear you.
Walk around the universe, you know, generally having to go into interact mode, having to use the cursor, having to select things. You know, and we spent a lot of time trying to make the world physical and feel right and immersed, that you're immersed in it.
Well, that you can interact with things like the props are interactable.
Exactly.
You can do things.
Oh, the E1s and A1s are in pledge in the pledge stores. What BC is saying.
Exactly.
Okay, so they're just not on the concept sale. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, games you run around, you shoot things. Maybe you pick up a gun that gets dropped. But
yeah, I was about to say, because to me the A1s sort of seem like
definitely for the PU. It's one of the reasons why we're doing the
most interesting of the lot. Oh, okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah, you're right.
Later on, the server meshing is to have this fully persistent universe.
What is that?
You can push the chairs around.
Black paint. Wow. The A1 comes with the black paint. That's
my
sick.
Spaceship instead of your spaceship, Jared. and it will be there and it'll persist. So obviously interacting with things is a huge deal. In Squadron, we have a huge amount of puzzles, interactions in a level that I haven't
Look how
seen
sad my dog is because of this.
It's almost like a sort of story game and a puzzle game and a traversal
I know,
game.
Rue. It's okay. They will eventually talk about Squadron 42.
Game all rolled into
They
one.
will, I promise. It's okay.
So we need systems.
It's okay. I know. It's very upsetting. It's all right.
You know, currently what we have, ideas were good.
I
but
can't
it's
make
pretty
the bad man stop
so
talking.
we've been really focusing on it because also we want you to be able, keyboard, mouse. What if you joystick? What if you have a gamepad? You need to make sure all that stuff works.
Jared's losing his damn mind over there.
You have to remember to do stuff. We don't want it to take
Guarantee
forever
Silo is like, dude, you got to wrap this.
We've really been thinking about it. Those are, by the way, have been large complaints on the PU, just getting in. New person getting into the game, like, how do I get out of bed? How do I do some basic stuff? How do I understand? You know, right now it's sort of trial by fire. I mean, I think, you know,
Or you watch a lot of YouTube vids.
Like, you know, I don't know whether it's a From Software thing where it's like, oh, I managed to beat the challenge of Star Citizen and I actually got to my ship. But you know, we need to make that better, and so that is actually one of the big things we've been focusing on, and the player interaction system. And by the way, these have been plans that have been around for quite a while.
Absolutely.
And you know, Rich, back when he was in charge of sort of the core gameplay group, which was the AFT and the weapon teams and the actor tech team and stuff, that was on the list of things to do. It just, you know, because of what we talked about, the release cadence in Star Citizen on the alpha, it just, you know, didn't get to it yet. Well, we're getting to it now, and you know, we're working on it. So I mean,
part of it is basically.
Still think they're going to do a go no go in December for beta. Okay, let's go over here. So the A1. 2 size 3s, 2 size 2s, 2 size 2s in the turrets. Crew of 2. That's not real impressive as far as like the armaments go. So it's really got to be the 10 size 5 bombs. That's the kicker on that. This is the attack version.
For example, you've got quite a lot of
that black paint is pretty amazing.
Do whatever I want, but you want to be able to just walk over there and not have to go into a mouse cursor mode to be able to then select it. You should just be able to go, I want to look at the green ship. I'm going to pick up the green ship.
Back.
I want to look at, you know, your little mini.
So let's see what the C2's got for weapons.
The book or your coffee cup or whatever, and you just want to be able to go and look at those things.
Size 3 tractor
you
beam.
need confidence that when you're looking at something and
Size
we
2
have the
shield.
user interface to tell you that yes, this is the thing that you're going to pick up, and you don't want to have to go into this separate mode.
Does it not have guns?
So I think that's one of the fundamental things on the player
Gotta have
interaction
guns.
experience, and that's such a pervasive system across the entirety, because it's the same when you're in a cockpit, or you're walking around, or you're in EVA, or you're crouched, or you're prone, or all the different environments that you're in. You need to be able to just effortlessly.
Does look like it has guns, like shoulder-mounted guns.
To just feel natural and immersed, because you want to get involved in what you're doing in the gameplay,
Let's
not having
see.
to fight the
What's
controls.
this?
And then on the other side of things, which is FPS.
Twin
radar
size
scanning,
3 cannons.
it's
Okay.
actually kind of being split into
Still
kind of a twofold.
undergun.
The first
but
area is kind of what we're calling
Pretty cool.
like a quick scan. This is something that, again, if you think of the Star Citizen universe, it's very detailed. You know, that's one of our strengths, that we're detail at scale. And so you want to be able to go in and understand all the individual pieces, that you can go in and go, I want to move that thing, or I want to go and get in a giant ship. But sometimes it's quite difficult to realize, okay,
Back to these two.
what is environment, or what is interactive, or which bits are relevant to me. You know, for example, if you look at Uncharted, they have, you know, painted areas to show you where you need to go and where you need to navigate. But
So
you know, that's
while we're waiting,
Star Citizen's built on realism and the
see.
reality of the world. So what we want to do is have kind of like the radar scanning system, where you can do this kind of like quick ping or quick scan wave, single button, and that is kind of just for your local environment.
So
And
here's the
everything will then be
E1.
tagged as you look at it. So kind of think, you know, I look at the camera, it'll come out and it'll have a little
That's pretty
box in the
slick.
box, and it'll say, okay, this is the
Wonder how
camera, this is the
far
position.
away
It's almost
this
like you've done a
thing
little
is.
mini scan on the camera, but it's happening for everything around you. And you can just quickly look around.
Probably a
like,
year
oh,
off
there's
or
a cuttable
so.
surface there because I want to be able to use my multi-tool cutter. Oh,
Those
there's a
pretty.
vent there that I can get access to. Oh, there's a terminal there that I can hack. And I'm getting that information. It's almost like that Blade Runner-esque of like, I go into a space and I can go,
Size
what are the
2
ingredients
turret.
that
So
I can
yeah,
play with as a
like
player for me to be able to
Crusader,
progress to the next level?
undergunned,
And
but
then we've got the other side of things, which is radar scanning, which
Not
is
awful.
like a charge scan wave, where it's the same system. You're holding down the scan button, and that's pinging out across wider areas, and that's where you're looking at, you know,
so
individual-
Night Logged In, the only thing he can see is the E1.
guys over there,
Oh, they
and
have
so
3
the
separate
details of
pages.
the
Yeah,
business
that's what I
you
was
see there,
seeing too.
okay,
Night.
and see an objective that you need to complete.
They've got it in
That's
the
more- because that's so,
the
that's more
store
gameplay
itself,
pervasive,
but
that's something that's
on
more of a
the
risk reward. So that's like
the
I'm
link
taking
just
my
brings you
location
to
away.
the C1.
Also,
Yeah, so of the 3, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. The
will be, and that's all underpinned off the
C1 is probably more my play style, but it doesn't seem like it has that much more cargo than an MSR, and the MSR can do data
So we
running.
have this kind of usability aspect for radar and scanning for people.
Kind of
who
like
go in
that
and understand.
A1 is.
You know, I think there's been plenty.
I could think of a few areas that might actually be useful. E1, I'm not much of a passenger guy,
We have that up and running, so
and I have the Banu Merchantman, so if I were ever going to carry around VIPs,
interaction experience of how you play the game.
I'd bring them on the
understand what you need to do. And
Merchantman.
then there's the other side. of
Okay,
things, which is
guys,
more of a
seriously.
proactive tool of you
Richard Tyree, boy can talk.
We have a couple of videos. Should we show?
There, yeah.
So I understand we have 2 videos. What's the first
You
one?
think?
So the first one is more kind of showing what I described with radar scanning, that first aspect. So you're going into a space, you're doing a quick scan wave, and then it's quickly showing you up the little bits that you can interact with.
Let's take a look at FPS radar and Pi 1.
So you can see here, this is in Asiado, which we've already showcased. This is obviously going in and utilizing some of our...
Yeah, this is the abandoned station.
Here's a scan wave, and you can see that I'm looking at that data pad, and then you can move around.
That
It's
was
giving you
cool.
That information. So right
FPS
now, it's just
scanner.
giving you the basic high-level information in terms of the names and things. But you will also
Yeah.
have more detailed information depending on, you know, contextually what the item is. And what you're seeing here is part of the player interaction system. So you can just, even though that's kind of a complex area, there's lots of little things that you can interact with. But you're getting confidence of, oh, cool, I can grab that, or I can use the data pad.
Hopefully we can shut that
You're not
off.
having to go into interact mode. You're not having to be driven by the cursor. You can go in and just press F or interact with it. And you know, you've probably seen this in plenty of AAA games, but they don't have the detail and at scale that we do. So we wanted to make sure that that system is really robust. but hopefully.
Yeah, Knight, I'm kind of with you. The C1, it's a real pretty ship. I don't think I need it.
There's the default action, which in this case is what you see when you're on it when it says grab or
That default action is something that's been missing.
ones that you can use as default action. But the icon, if you just had a single disk with that wasn't broken, then that would mean there's only one thing you can do with it. In a lot of those cases, you could see there was a broken disk in 4 pieces, which was basically saying that's a multi-action. So as you look at it,
it breaks it a little bit, but it's kind of they've got to gamify
bring up
some things
the modular wheel
in the manner that people are used to seeing.
Grab it or whatever you would do.
No, my
so
dog
the
looks
idea
headless.
is just
He's not headless.
like you can doing like
I know, but
Rich was talking about a lot of other sort of AAA, even console games. You walk around, you look around. Oh, look,
hard to say. Yeah.
To do something with it, right? So there's a bit of that that's happening here. So you can just look around, and I can interact without having to hold F, move your mouse around, and all the rest of stuff. I mean,
but no, I get what you mean, Rusty. I kind of feel the same way.
The idea is I just play around. If I'm used to playing games a certain way, so there is a certain language of, I think, FPS.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Games that exist right now, and we don't want to like do something totally different to it because people are used to playing games a certain way. It's like
like being able to have differently sized characters.
So many people are used to it, and so we're leaning a little bit onto that, but trying to make it much more usable. And
the fact that they're not trying to reinvent the wheel this time is kind of refreshing. They need to do that with a few other elements too.
Move them around, do all these different things with it. And hopefully it'll be much more intuitive for players in Squadron or Star Citizen.
Yeah, it could be. A little bit intrusive.
That's also something we've gone to, and we're changing in the fact that we want everything to have a default action that essentially you go over, you press F, it always does that default action. But let's say you're
that's in the game right now.
And you want, the default action is that it picks it up.
If you just tap F, it'll do the first thing at the top of the inner thought list.
Go in there.
I do that when I'm mining.
Item, when you're in interact mode, bring up the wheel, or like Chris says, hold F and just it will bring up the wheel. And that will replace that list that we have currently right now. And you'll actually be able to remap that in the game, like 3 clicks, and you go, I don't want it to be pick up into my hand. I want it to go straight into my backpack because that's what you're doing right there. So then you can go and have it, it allows us to give the interaction system how we want it to be by default. But then it puts the onus
I
on
want
the
to
player.
pick up
They
this
want
rock bug and put it in my backpack. Now it's eating my back.
They're happy with the weapons they've already got and they're going looting. They just want it all to be stored. They can do that out of the gate so it doesn't always go into their hands. And they have that customizability to be able to interact with the environment and the objects that they're looking at.
Before we move on, we have a second video.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't seen this one. You want to set it up, or you want to just go into playing it?
Sure. Play it. So I mean, the second one, essentially, what we're about to see is kind of what I talked about. This is the second half of radon scanning. So this is where this
Show
environmental information. Like
Rusty just said interaction mode worked fine though. Why are they making a big overhaul? I'm not sure. I think it's probably just a UI thing, just kind of to make it more in line with modern games.
Like whether it's X-ray vision or you can hear it through the wall, but you
hard to say. Probably because they're going to put in more interaction. So BC says,
much more risky because it's
with the C1 and MSR, I wish there was more indication of the cockpit glass structure. Maybe more of an opaque transition when the glass shape changes. Yeah, that's fair.
It's very useful, having played lots of levels.
Definitely because in Squadron, we're trying to have a certain amount of realism, so you're not just going to go and gun down 400
or make it red like the Night Runner.
When you're in situations, you're
I wonder if they got that on the skins. Look at that real quick.
It's more of a stealth game in the FPS than it is a straight out run and gun shooter.
Bring it to the point of realism, then bring it back to the point of fun, as you said.
Well, there's a lot of fun stealth games.
All right, so I want to see this clip. I haven't seen it yet. Let's roll FPS 2.
Yes, let's roll it. Now they have the giant one. I'm assuming they're going to say they're moving to beta.
Essentially, what you'll see is that it's now penetrating through the
MSR
walls.
feels like a space convertible.
The slavers that are in this environment. Now, these slavers don't necessarily have a radon scanner.
Yeah, that's very much like Cyberpunk.
So what will happen is when you do a scan wave or a charged scan wave, your signatures will basically skyrocket So that's what will give you away to other people. So in the PvP environment, you're only getting, it's a big risk. If you want to do it, but you're giving away your location. So if you're willing to do that, then so be it. But in a more of a PvE environment, what we're going to do is we're going to have tailored. Some enemies will have radon scanning. And some
So the
won't.
slavers
So if they do, then they'll be like, hey, I've just been pinged, and they'll get your location. And
work
go
with the
investigate.
Banu,
So
which
what
is
you
why I
do,
think the Banu Merchantman was pushed when it is. I think the Banu Merchantman is actually going to be in Squadron 42.
And you can, it's up to the player to choose which one.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, Rusty. I
The
agree.
first one is really more about just, we want to encourage the player to go into an environment.
And I'm glad they're making it that it'll give away your position if you scan like that, so it's not just a cheat mode.
Chris said, when we're playing our stealth levels, you need to have kind of a good understanding of where they are, and it's only temporary, and you will have a cooldown on that charge scan wave, so you're not just going to be able to spam it there forever. It's like you get a temporary picture, and you go, cool, I've got a good snapshot. Now I'm going to make my move and go forward.
So while we're still here on the first-person experience, the player experience, let's stick to a couple more topics that are related just to the player before we move into ships and bigger stuff. Ledges and ladders. Everybody knows the struggles of elevators in the persisting
Ladders that just
but
wrapped it.
that's not the only way to traverse the universe to get around and stuff. I understand that you guys
They
have made
pulled on
improvements to
few guys from
dancing over
Assassin's
ledges
Creed
and
recently, so
ladders.
I mean, Legend and Ladders is kind of
Best game I ever played
it's like a
when I was
board
growing
game.
up,
Yeah,
Legends and
exactly,
Ladders.
absolutely. It's kind of two features that we're focusing on. But I mean,
Okay,
as Chris
see
said,
it.
in terms of Squadron Development, we're looking at improving the entirety of the traversal experience.
well,
How
yeah,
does the
you
player
got the
do,
Assassin's Creed
just
guys.
some general locomotion and how that feels, and then in terms of the traversal moves, so vaulting, mantling, ladders, and so on and so forth. So one of the
I wonder if there's a passive FPS scanner ping only.
ledges, which is
Yeah, Hermes,
I've slightly misjudged.
That's a
my
good
jump
question.
in the
I would
first person,
assume
you know,
passive would be on the receiving end.
and
If
it's
someone
kind of
pinged,
frustrating. You're like, oh, it's
you
just
would
right
get
there.
an
If this was
indicator
real
that
life,
someone's
I'd
pinging.
just put my hands
So
out
you'd be
and
like,
grab it.
wait a minute, that would be
So
the
that's first
passive
that
part.
we can actually grab onto ledges now that you're falling past.
But
so
yeah,
that you
I would
can pull
hope
yourself
ping
up, which adds just it's
would be the
to be honest,
only
it's
thing that you
huge.
have
We've
to
built traversal levels now, and it's the difference.
scan
is
your
night and
area
day.
if you're the
When you're in
interloper.
first person, it's very difficult to
Lordy,
judge, like,
Richard
right
can
on the
talk.
edge, so we can add a bit more
He gives you
challenge to the
so much
traversal
information. I'm going to go back and deeply listen to everything he's saying here.
And then the other side of things,
Because he's not one of the pie in the sky guys. He's one of the guys that's actually the game design. So what he's saying will be in the game.
Now, you get onto a ladder, you're looking bolt straight forward at the wall.
But
You're
he does have a
locked,
tendency
can't
to
look
talk in
around,
circles and
just
circles and
spatial
circles.
awareness.
So
It's just, that's it. You're
yeah,
locked in. You can't.
he's
get off
talking about
halfway, you
ladders
can't
being
jump
you're
off.
basically on a
You're
rail.
locked. So what we've done.
Jump on halfway. Too.
No, exactly. So what we did is we kind of leveraged how we did body dragging, and that even though you're attached to this thing, you want to be able to look around. So you can attach to the ladder. You can jump onto a ladder.
Body
directly,
dragging
you
is so janky.
You can run and jump onto a ladder. You can look around full 360 degrees. You can look around.
It's too much at
90
once
degrees
for me,
of
as Rusty's
what's
saying.
going on.
Yeah,
it's just a lot.
yeah, I
more
could
fluid
see
and
that.
A lot more, it doesn't feel like, oh, now I'm locked in. It just feels like you're more of a human being on the ladder, and you can look around. And then, obviously, if you can look behind you on a ladder, that opens up environment. Opens
You
up
can
scope
jump
to
off of it.
Jump in
Tomb
from
Raider.
that onto something else. So,
Yeah,
it's
because you can jump off the ladder halfway up. Or whatever.
exactly.
Disco didn't realize he was on camera. He's like,
In Squadron, we're putting a lot of traversal gameplay.
get the shepherd's hook and you drag these guys off so we can keep this rolling.
All these sort of systems settle, and I think you'll see a lot more. I mean, you already see a little bit where you could.
I want to see some climbing, like actual climbing. It doesn't need to be as involved as Assassin's Creed, but some solid rock climbing mechanics would be
Imagine a whole level above that,
very
which
cool.
is kind of what's in Squadron. I mean, even
Just
that
kind of run out of
is really
stamina and you
some of the
slip
other
off.
things we're doing in Squadron.
Get
There's a
noodle
lot of
arms halfway up the climb.
physical and traversal gameplay and puzzles in Squadron, and we're building the systems to also work well with that.
Yes,
And then,
cool.
again,
Show
with the
it.
systemic world like we have.
It looks like the
Citizen,
PTV is up.
You can move things
According to
around, they can persist.
chat.
There should be multiple ways
Double
to
check that.
solve the problem you're trying to deal with, which is how we've approached the Squadron design. Is like in most of the areas.
Wonder if they're
we go
pushing
through,
over
there's
that
more than
race
one
now.
way to get
It
to
doesn't
the
look like
end
it's
to
there. Is
solve
it under the
problem.
pledge
So,
store?
do you stealth around? You just take it on head on and start shooting, or is a way that you can do it without seeing anyone because you've just you know, taken this difficult traversal path. So
I think
those are
chat's
all
lying.
things that
I'm
are
not seeing the
important,
PTV.
so it's little things like this, and I would say, I mean, we've got a video to show, but
Not yet.
we're still, you know,
Yes, you
some of
gotta
the
show it.
finesse of the animation.
Yeah, Knight's bringing up the rope play, the rope physics. Rap not too long ago. I was expecting we'd see it
motion capture stage here that we will
in one of these demos, like in the caves.
When the Manchester Goods Yards and the stage are fully finished, and then Jared will do a updated version of the 2013 tour that I did with Erin, but it will be in a much bigger environment.
Jared's losing his mind.
Anyway, but I would say.
Oh, is it under
definitely
extras?
That,
Okay.
I mean, we could show it, but
under the
we've got
pledge store.
details
Yeah,
of,
that makes
for
sense.
instance, if you jump and you just make it, you know, you're going to, catch your balance and do that sort of stuff. So that's not in here, but that's sort of the details, the finesse that we're adding to really have that sense of you in first person, feeling your body and your inertia when you're going up and down on it. I mean, if you cut out to the third person when you see some of the stuff, you sort of see some of it even in the blockout animations, but there'll be much more in the final version. But we probably should run the video if we can.
Oh yeah, that's the PTV. Here we go.
So obviously this, as you can see, this is final art.
Nice.
Taken directly from Squadron Development. No, it's obviously a test map. But you can see here that, as Chris said, the level of inertia is still blockout phase, but you can see that we're actually starting to get that you can grab on, you can go straight into a mantle or a vault, you can go straight into the pull-ups. And the thing is that what you're seeing here is, while this is just an test map, a lot of these are
Rusty,
then feed into
God, you would blow out your shoulders on that.
And we've got environments that we want the player to go and do missions in. We don't just.
Here we go. Okay, show the Tomb Raider jump.
We only can do vault and mantle.
And right there, we did a jump onto halfway onto a ladder, and here we're looking around to the left, to the right, and you can jump off the ladder at any point. You can slide down it. You can do all sorts of things.
Wow. We got a bit of a sneak peek at the end.
Yeah. So.
Sneak peek. What?
the true boss.
And we jump across to get on the ladder there.
They're going to show up
These are all the blockout animations.
That's about the second time they've said sneak peek. Wow, that's pretty.
Someone accidentally put that in there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the other thing as
Back
well.
to our spaceship.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing to say about the traversal is while we're highlighting ladders and
the hell was
ledge
that?
grabs and things here. The other thing is that we're also, we've taken deep dive on things like the control input.
Yeah,
so
whatever that was.
So, for example, if you're sprinting,
Cyber and Orion or something.
You were shooting just before you're sprinting. You might be holding down Shift and left mouse button. And then now, what happens now if you then release Shift, you've stopped shooting.
Huh.
But sometimes you want it to continue shooting because I'm still holding the input that I want to do, and what we're kind of terminology in terms of this action queuing. And that's something that we've got a whole matrix of all the different controls, all the different methods from prone to crouch, the transitions, weapon swapping, and so that just using the controls is a lot more fluid, a lot more intuitive. So it's something that we're really putting a really magnifying glass on to making sure that you're not fighting the controls. The controls are working for you. It's doing what you want it to do. So if you are using a gamepad or you are using a joystick or you are using mouse and keyboard, it's easy to use and easy to interact with the world. So
it looked like
the environment,
like a refinery.
And the gameplay. It's something that we're really.
So yeah, not sure what the big
all aspects, right? Because prone's one of the things that we're
teaser was with that.
Set to be working on here, right?
But it is good to see the new ladder. That was something that they had been finishing off.
The PU's clunkier than it should be. And so we've really taken a deep dive on all of it, and to make everything a lot more fluid. Looking around on the ladder is a good example, but also
Jared's doing the whole
level, right? We've done a complete.
He's like, guys,
work on
rolling flags.
What we call sort of push and pull.
They need to have a semaphore guy behind the camera waving them off.
We'll talk a little bit about that. We have a video to show of that, but it's a complete
really?
of the current EVA system.
Yes.
And it's had
yes, I've been harping on this for the last year.
What you would expect when you're in.
They just finished this on the finished the sprints
for instance,
on push pull. Was talking about right now and EVA.
Moving in a direction. The use of it's far more easy.
Yeah.
Handling weapons and looking around, and some of the tech that we've developed for.
Soros says, "Don't get me wrong, I'm excited, but this in-depth dive into controls should probably be saved until closer to launch." I agree. A lot of these things, the sprints just wrapped, so they might be dropping into 3.18 for some of these. If not 3.18, 3.19, because of the
But when
EVA.
we talk about EVA T2 and 0G, the biggest thing, again,
is real soon, like actual soon, not soon TM.
Just look left. You don't have a stability of you know, if you're a human being, you look left, your horizon
You
change. Because
can if you got FPS in one of these.
Our camera like tilts and moves, and then you get into a scenario where you're like, you can't really understand the perspective of where you were in. It's like, oh, I'm now upside down. So EVA T2, which again, you'll be able to see a clip of it working, it's night and day. It is we basically threw the old one away, and this is a fundamental change.
Good, it needed to be tossed and lit on fire.
First off,
right, Rufus?
You're in more of what we call the Iron Man pose, so you're leaning forward. We still retain the upright pose for certain circumstances, but it means that you've got a better sense of your actual volume when you're traversing forward. So you're not got these legs that, you know, are beneath
Bruce
you.
had enough of this show.
But you can totally look around 360 degrees. Your camera is stable, as you get a good orientation. When you look back, you see your body. It's fully decoupled. So you're not just pushing forward and you're flying like a spaceship. You push forward, and that gives you an initial inertia in that direction, and you will keep going in that direction until you change.
So it's like EVA.
You just
Weird.
need to look at another direction, and you push that way. And the way we've implemented it, it's almost like your suit's kind of similar to the IFCS on the ships, that it kind of like counters the force of it, and then it allows you to go in
they framed this to be Squadron 42 exclusive. It might be. It might honestly just be Squadron 42 for now, but it is on the roadmap. It does say Squadron 42 and PU, so I don't think it'd be too long. 3.19, I'm thinking, would be the latest we get
tight,
that.
Intricate areas that we've built over the last 7, 8, well, 10 years now, I suppose.
Yeah.
That you can go into those tight areas. You need it to be stable. You need it to be in a position where you can turn on a dime, that you can look upside down, that you get a good sense of what, your orientation. And I think that's something that we've really pushed ahead on EVA-T2. And to be honest, the engineering team.
Somebody in Twitch chat just said this discussion should have been an ISC show. They aren't wrong.
I should point out, in the longer term for the PU, not so much in Squadron, because you're in a sort of pilot suit that has EVA as part of its setup. Is not every spacesuit is EVA capable. So we're gonna separate it where you have to have like basically an EVA pack, a rocket pack.
That's big.
Sort of propel around. If you don't have one,
then you're going to be using push-pull.
It's the physical push-pull. So you can move along
Good,
surfaces. You can push
good,
off
good.
against them. You come close to something, you can grab it. If you're in close things and there's handholds, you can grab them and move them around.
That's what I was hoping for.
So we have this physicalized interaction that happens, and you don't actually need to have your EVA pack or jet pack.
Waldo,
and
that's
the
what
EVA
they call
jet
it,
pack
Chris.
is when you're out in open space. That's how obviously you can stop or change your direction and do the rest, and that will be more limited on fuel. So I think long term in the PU, there's going to be some pretty interesting gameplay.
Oh yeah,
if you do, I don't know, a boarding action.
That was everything I was hoping for. As far as the EVA goes.
Or you're doing repairs out in space with an EVA pack. Yes, you will not be able to repair the ship in that outfit right now, Jared. But I think it gives a really good. It's just going to give more options, more context, because like longer term, what we want to do in the PU is what you wear is important, right? So right now, everybody just runs around in a big suit of armor, a big space. And we haven't really turned on some of the features we've actually put in there that says, for instance, you shouldn't be able to sit in a seat of a space fighter in heavy armor. You shouldn't be there with your gun on the back. You should have a flight suit on, or you come into a city. You should
Gorilla McGillicuddy in it. McGilla Gorilla.
That's antisocial. Maybe they don't like.
I'm hoping for gun holster soon. Yeah, on regular clothing, they need it. A lot of people have said that, but
that's the whole point of the
they've kind of been they've been real iffy on that one for some reason. Again, I think that's a point where CIG doesn't need to reinvent the wheel, just have an attachment point on your leg.
The physicalized cargo and everything else. And if you look at all the new ships, there's always
Plenty of games out there with gun
We
holsters.
have a whole system for outfits now that was first going to be in Squadron, but then coming to the PU, it's designed so there'll be a nice sort of lock, almost like a wardrobe system that you can go in and hang up your outfit. And
what's the advantage to wearing regular clothes over armor? Right, Rufus?
Everything.
Yeah, so we want it.
Oh, I saw you moving.
Be your virtual second life, and we want to make it as easy as possible for you to manage all these different things that you can wear for different roles. And EVA is one of the minor parts of that, where, like I said, you either have an EVA suit with a pack or not, but you still will be able to
EVA suit. Do you want an EVA suit?
Good job bringing it back around.
He has no idea what it is. He just wants food.
The EVA video. See what we're looking at here.
Here
Well,
we
as
go.
Chris
Yes.
says, in terms of
Here we go.
the EVA, this is what you're seeing here is that you'll probably see some of the in the third person the thrusters are not firing because
it's
decoupled.
the old VFX, but it's also the old VFX code. So we haven't part of the proper. This is a current PU suit versus what we'll have is a new one with the proper pack that has the thrusters in the right position, and when you go forward, the thrusters going from the back.
So what you're actually seeing here is you've actually connected to this surface. So now it's almost like you're in a prone situation, but this is going to be what more our new prone will be.
Showed in
Again, you've got
3D.
full 360 degrees.
Or third person.
You can just move your mouse and you look all the way behind you or all the way in
Jackets on
front.
spacesuits. Yeah, agreed, Rusty. There's a lot of missing combinations.
Our hands
Exactly.
to move ourselves around, and we're looking
Or even
around,
like a big bulky jacket over armor.
You would sort of see
Light
us
armor.
moving our hands around. I think we'll see it a little later on. There we go. Here we go.
There we go. There we go.
So
Nice.
We're just sort of pulling ourselves along.
Oh, that
And
looks
if we
good.
wanted to at this point, we could stop and we
Like
could push off
crawling
against
around
it,
in the shallow end of the
just go
pool.
floating out into space. So that's the sort of idea of what we call push-pull.
And so what you're seeing
now
here,
he just pushed himself off.
So what you're
That's
seeing here,
awesome.
that's actually kind of you're just floating alongside the actual
Oh, that's
this
nice.
fin of this Asiata station, and this is actually keeping you in this orbit. And then if you did, and that's just you just push forward and go, where you can actually jump off into space.
And you
But then
just
this
keep
becomes one
moving
of the,
in a straight line.
physical traversal where you've got jumping and
Yeah.
mantling and vaulting.
And
This is
that's
where we
pretty
have
far along.
zero
That
push-pull,
actually just
track beam kind of
wrapped,
pulls you
I
around
think.
the EVA, and then we have your EVA pack. which
Or
is
it's
limited
wrapping in
by
like a week or
resources
two.
to fuel.
So we could
So
see
this
this in
allows you to kind
318.
of
My
manipulate
theory was this was going to be a sneak into 318.
To build EVA traversal spaces, both wide-ranging and both small scale.
So yeah,
Vehicular maintenance, yeah.
Looking around, but here's us cutting
Yeah,
out to
totally.
third person to actually show you what your character and body's doing. And so there's a lot of, and these are still blockout animations actually, but so there'll be a lot more like nuance or fidelity to it. But
They're pretty good,
you have
Chris.
a lot more control, directional sense. ability to
VTOL
look around,
EVA,
ability to
yeah.
stop yourself. So I think, in this one, we're going to come up close to the glass above it.
Yes.
And you're actually going to see us, like if you fly into something, you sort of arrest yourself, again, block out animation, but you're going to, as we get down close to it.
Or a
and come
decoupled
down, you'll
EVA,
see,
yeah.
As our character comes down here, player comes down here, yep. Put our hands out to brace ourselves to stop ourselves on the glass here.
Bad
So
time
all
to
of
cut
that's,
away.
like systemic, that's not marked up or anything. It's all ray casting, seeing if things, you brace yourself when you come up against.
Ray
hold on,
casting.
arrest your thing, you can
So-
push off against things. So we've spent a fair amount of time in engineering.
The
on
ray
this,
casting
but it's not
is
just
an
for
IK
squadrons,
system,
but
inverse kinetics or schematics.
useful in some of the environments.
That
This is one of them, obviously.
tech
Yeah, there's
is why I think that we could have characters that are different heights, because you do the same thing
But, yeah,
with
the use of
grabbing the
basic-
joystick.
the
Is
PU is gonna be
the hands know where the
And also
joystick
the
are,
big
so
thing
it
Chris
grabs
said
the
there is
joysticks wherever the joysticks are for
There's
the
no
frame of
markup.
reference for that
If you want to
character.
go and climb all over a ship,
They could
you can.
totally
If you
have
wanna climb over
characters that
a
are different
station, you
heights.
can do. If you wanna
Metrics
climb over
withstanding.
anything that's in EVA has a surface. You can put your hands on it. It's got a big enough space to put your hands on it. It will work. So there's no like, oh, it only works in this scenario, or it only works in this scenario. It is what you see here. And then as what we've not been able to show today, which is we do have working or partially working, is that when you go into very tight environments, if there are handholds, you will be able to grab
Take
onto
holds.
the handhold, or whether
Nice.
it's a terminal, or whether it's, you know, a hatch to get into a ship. You'll grab onto the handhold, and then, you know, instead of putting your hands out and landing, you'll grab on, and then you go, cool, I can use the terminal, or I can look around. And again, you're not locked in. You can look all 360 degrees. You'll switch hands as you look around, and you can get a sense of, okay, where do I want to go next? I want to go over there, cool, or I want to go through this door. And it works in tight environments, wide-scale environments, and fundamentally, it's a lot nicer to play in our current version, which is just
No, I mean it's massive for the game.
Soros Neil says, I think they want to hold off on these kinds of promises rather than it being impossible, actually being impossible. Yeah, no, I could see that. For right now, they're saying metrics, but I still think that would be one of those things that they'd say.
We don't really. We have a lot of stuff down on planets, but it would also be nice to have more like exploring more the sort of derelict
Spider
asteroid bases kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we all
I'm surprised that they didn't just say it's not a priority right now. They said, well, we can't do it. It's all like, you could definitely do it. I know how to do it. I'm not even that good of an animator.
How best it's going to work. And bed it in on Squadron, and then it'll be something.
Yeah, because we did 2 or 3 iterations. We did, we did 2 or 3 iterations of how we wanted to do it. Did we want to have this Iron Man pose? Did we want to have it upright? Did it blend between them? And we were playing it. And it's like, oh, it doesn't feel right. And now you can just, you know it when you get it right, because you can just go, and you're like, oh, this feels really nice, and you just end up flying around the level and connecting things. And so yeah, this unlocks content for the PU.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I purposely didn't watch the videos. I wanted to be able to react as honestly while we were recording these as possible. And I know you said those were blockout animations, but as somebody who's been with Steve Bender on a Friday night at the Oust House, like, that looks just like
Steve Bender?
Yeah, it looks just like Steve Bender crawling around. Sorry, Steve. But no, it looks great, and I think everybody who saw that now is going to see the potential, the absolute gameplay potential for.
Been waiting a long time for it.
Zero-G gameplay possibilities. That is really,
no,
cool.
that's great. I mean,
Rose says maybe they just don't want to redo bed sheet deformation. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
The hover trolley.
Right now, the blankets only come up to here. Here is impossible.
Yeah, no, I like
really
it a lot.
like
I
it.
saw the Reddit thread saying, why doesn't someone do a hover trolley? Well, actually, that was something we've been working on for quite a while. But the thing we can show you here in a few minutes. But the thing that's really good about this, because obviously the physical trolleys, the wheels get caught. I mean, just like in the real world, right? And you've got problems of going upstairs.
Too much fidelity.
Just like you would in the real world.
What? I have no problem pushing carts upstairs.
It sort of opens up the potential, and this really plays into the PU. We use it in Squadron for certain things, like you'll see in what we show here. But for the PU, it's actually much more interesting because now you have the ability. We always had this design for our bigger cargo containers, right? Ones that you can't just pick up yourself. We originally had this design where there was sort of a grav-led system.
That's where you have your Vandal crewmen do it.
It would come up, and then now you can push around, a huge.
Name him Thad or something.
We're moving for physicalized cargo.
Gilbert.
It's going to be in 380.
Gilbert the Vandal.
I think Tony's trying to squeeze a few things in. We'll see if he manages to get everything in. But this isn't necessarily going to be in 318, but it will come in probably not too far in the near future. But this allows you to not just have your little tractor beam and pick up something and move it around, but okay, let's have a bigger container. And what happens if you turn it on, up it goes, and then you just push it into your cargo hold, turn it off, locks into the cargo grid. And now that cargo container, imagine a bigger one. Well, what happens? Like right now in the inventory system, you can put things in your local inventory of your ship or other various inventories. Well, imagine your container, say one of these bigger, like maybe a 16 SCU one or whatever, that's sitting there, and now I can place, I don't know, large vehicle items in it. I can place all sorts of stuff in it. So I could load up this container, I could push it into my ship, then I could
I mean, it might even fit your mom.
And put it next to, where I'm camping out, or longer term where you say maybe a player base or some group of players with persistent decide to take over a derelict or something. And I can basically load up a bunch of supplies in a container, bigger supplies or weapons or armor suits or whatever and put it in there just by doing this. So I think, you know, the underlying sort of hover tech for the trolley stuff is really good because it will really play into the cargo.
We need bigger cargo loaders designed to move the bigger containers. Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be an Atlas variant that's going to be a flatbed.
Of living, right?
It kind of seems to be a no-brainer.
Food, how do I have my drinks? How do I have my raw materials? How do I have my weapons? You know, if two orgs are fighting a war over.
But ships like the Caterpillar actually have a built-in tractor beam.
Ammo and missiles and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and or weapon replacement, especially as we get repairing.
So the starboard side is open and the port side isn't. Well, I think the port side's got a tractor beam too. Could be wrong about that. I know the starboard side does.
A broken weapon for another weapon because you've loaded it up and stored it in your container. So there's the possibilities in the PU is huge, and this is an example of just little bits of tech that we're putting into Squadron that we're planning on bringing it across into.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's pretty much what I'm banking my Merchantman playthrough on is having those sort of repair items, spare parts for guns and stuff like that. Trade that to pirates for stuff that they have. Sorry, creative procurement specialists. That's dropped off the back of a whole sea.
Kind of what the more physical trolleys are kind of better suited for. And this is another example where we kind of put trolleys into the PU.
I was hoping to move away from the tractor beam.
Best use case, so that
no, I'm going to avoid them wherever I can. Yeah, no, I get that, Rusty. That's
but they're not really
beams and
we want them to use. And then you've got
could become a crutch. So yeah, I kind of like the more tangible physical aspects. So they might show it here.
The scales of those ramps is larger.
We'll see.
And with hover trolleys,
but
you know, when you see the video, you can push them downstairs. You can push them up any ramp. You know,
in the cave, they did show that Argo-looking vehicle that had the crane on it. So you might get that more visceral, physical moving. Here we go. Here we go. Finally, yes. I have a feeling Xylo is like, we're playing this now.
So you can see here, this is actually a slaver pod. So
it closes down. It's on the
so we were talking about this.
Levitates up now. Grav levs on. You get hold of it. Bam. And by the way, the new interaction system's not working in this demo here.
Well, you could.
Separate build, but we're, you know, as you can see, it's getting.
You could move Han Solo in that.
Bulkheads.
But this is essentially a really big improvement for us because we want physical cargo, and we want physical cargo to be a really
look around for Easter eggs.
That you have to move that cargo, you have to make decisions on how long it's going to take to load it up, not just buy it from a kiosk and it appear in your ship. So this gives us the ability to do that, and like Chris says, move much larger things than what you'd normally be able to push as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, this happens to be just a slaver pod, but you know, obviously you'd be pushing, you know, as long as it's grav lever equipped.
They're definitely going to have the Merchantman and Squadron 42.
Shipping containers and stuff like that.
What is that?
And this is all underpinned by our technology, so the same. You know, if it, as a Dragonfly, or eventually you'll be able to.
They're totally doing a Han Solo or a Han Solo Boba Fett scene.
You know, when you're moving things around on your homestead or whatever we do eventually.
I have to bite my tongue to keep back jokes here. Let them fly, dude. I'm all about that. I've been dropping them in chat the whole time.
Because it doesn't actually undulate.
Every time chat here goes away, I'm leaving some snide little comment in
chat. It allows it to be much more stable.
But it's going by so fast, doesn't matter.
For your cargo loading is that we'll use a
is it just floating there? Oh, it's open to space on the bottom. So that's a cool way to have more ships load ships like that. I'd much prefer a hangar that opens above me than below me.
Some of our design ethos coming through is that we're trying to remove the barrier to entry. We're trying to remove the control mechanism, the things that frustrate you as you play the game.
Hermes is saying, I wonder if ships with respawn capabilities will have to store clones to use for respawning.
That's true. Yeah. Very cool. So we've talked about a number of things now that are related to the player, to the first person and stuff like that.
Makes sense to me.
More we're going to come back
have
to
like
later, let's move
blanks
into spaceships.
Yep.
Because spaceships are a big part of the
Yeah,
experience.
Heroes.
it's a good
We
thought.
just had earlier in the day, we had our flight
Sester better be
experience,
carting around a
segment
bunch
where
of
they talked
bodies in
about
his
master
endeavor.
modes and quantum boosts and stuff like this. But at a higher level and stuff, let's talk about how the flight experience is changing a bit through the work in Squadron 42, and anything you want to share with us on that.
I think the biggest thing for me, and I think it's what Chris and I have talked about, is the difficulty of developing a game over a period of time when it's a live product is that you're developing things in isolation and you're putting them out. So you're going, okay, this is our T0, this is MFDs. And okay, now we want to do the flight HUD. And we put the flight HUD. And now we want to do this section. And what happens is maybe it's a different designer over the years, or maybe it's someone else, or maybe they've learned from what's happened or gone out previously. And lots of things come together, but they don't necessarily feel right because they've not been approached where you've gone, we're going to do it all at once. Because you can never do it all at once if you've got to hit quarterly releases. Right. So with Squadron Development, what's it allowed us to do is allowed us to look at the HUD and the MFDs and everything.
They're going to show the new HUDs? That would be cool.
We don't need all that information on the HUD if we've got it on the MFDs. Or we don't need all the information here if we've got physical switches. And it's allowed us to approach the design of the cockpit experience holistically so that we can go, okay, let's pull all this noise away because we've tried to fit everything onto the HUD. We've tried to put everything on there. You need to know your G-forces and your heading direction and I need to know my ammo and master modes is a good way of going down that road.
Rusty's asking, so does that mean I can be a slave trader?
Traversal?
Slaves were a commodity in Privateer 2, and I think Privateer 1. They were illegal, but you could run them. And the Banu
we've taken that approach and gone, okay, well,
do run slaves, so yeah, you probably can. There might be some morality issues.
Your MFDs, if you're in SCN,
CR's been a little cagey about that in the past, just given the ramifications, but
how they're doing. But as a default experience, we're only giving you the information that is needed.
It was one of the purposes of the Merchantman was running slaves, and it's gonna be
we've got gorgeous space
in the verse. Obviously, it's in Squadron 42.
You're fighting, you want to see the environment you're flying around in. I mean, one of the big things that were the big initiative on the vehicle side.
Yeah, so pay up to the pirates so they don't throw you in their hold.
The HUD.
Because you could become the next commodity.
Where first of all, we have to refactor it to move away from some of the old flash that's been around forever, which is what the MFD displays.
Here's your building blocks.
On the HUD, we sort of took a look at where we were going and felt like Rich said, it's just too much stuff's there all the time. We want to be more contextual. So, and we're doing this in a overall holistic way that would be probably almost impossible if we were trying to fit it into quarterly releases in the PU.
Then show it.
Most of the vehicle team is working on this as a sort of group. In the need for multiple speeds that we saw earlier, you sort of saw some aspects of it, which is the different modes you can be in depending on what you're trying to do. But
so in the Twitch chat, Jared, please help.
What you're targeting and whether you can.
I feel you, person whose name I didn't see.
Say your target status or your ship status to your visor. Now that won't be the case for everything.
This is why they don't always put Chris on. Chris does a lot of this.
Suit that you would wear,
he'll kind of talk about what he envisions in his head, which is cool. But
you should be able to cast if you're
has a tendency to go on a bit.
Like an Aurora.
Well, what was the Drake ship we saw the other day when we were looking at it, saying all the HUD was on there? We're like, well, it's kind of the equivalent of a lorry.
Oh yeah, it's a Caterpillar. Yeah. So you wouldn't have the Caterpillar. You wouldn't cast it up to your visor like you would as a fighter pilot. It would be sitting down.
Jared.
On the
Shepherd's
MFD.
Crook.
But in the cases that you have the ability to cast it and do stuff, in all the ships are also building in the ability, like there's not just a game config screen in your ship. You go in, you have your settings screen, and the settings will be remembered on a per ship basis, and you can set up one.
Night, I stepped away for 10 minutes. Are they still talking? Did you see the EVA bit?
So it's all been built on building blocks and being in a very sort of.
But yes, they are still talking.
System clean approach. So we're pretty excited about that. We're not ready to show it yet because we're still in the sort of
show it.
Yeah, it's a little further before it's all fully polished or ready to show, but it's going to be, I think, a pretty sea change in terms of how it feels as you're flying around. Besides the different modes of combat, traversal, and all the rest of the stuff, it's how you get the information and
you're upsetting my dog.
Is going to be much more contextual.
We'll stop talking eventually. He wants carrots. That's what he wants.
Huge in combat, because in combat right now, you're either, we're obviously trying to bring the combat closer, which is obviously what Yogi and the guys and Dave talked about in their talk. But you don't want to have a little clutter on there, and you want to have that spatial awareness of, okay, who's my target? And the other aspect is that on that level of, again, a holistic approach is your player information is only on there if it's relevant, and also the targeting we've talked about redoing in terms of right now, if you go into
I got the most glorious pony. Do you want to see it? Here, let me describe it for 5 or 6 hours.
And it's like it's just massive information overload. In some players,
it was definitely a problem in Squadron.
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
Quite a few areas of the game where there's massive amounts of ships.
Yeah, and some players can deal with it, but it's just so much information. It's unnecessary. So what we've done is that we want to strip back the targeting. So
this is why you need a director.
We're only targeting the things that are important to you. So we're relying less on all these markers, and we want to put more of a focus on your radar in the cockpit, because you have a radar in the cockpit. Fighter pilots in real life have a radar. You don't have in-world AR markers. Oh, there's 20 guys.
Yeah, what does it look like?
We want to make sure that you've got the information that you need.
I love these guys, but good lord,
you're using the tools that we provide. Because what's happening right now is that everybody's just reliant on the HUD, because the HUD has everything on there. But you've got MFDs, you've got a cockpit radar. They're there for a reason.
Hermes,
So
he's fine. He wants to go outside and eat grass, but yeah. And at Rusty, subtitlers are probably having PTSD from these two. Yeah, and add Tony Z in the mix, and you'd have your nose every 10 seconds. You'd have to have a copy paste for that one.
You should use that. There's in-cockpit MFDs. You should use those. Okay. Now I'm in this specific combat mode. Okay, they're cast, so I can see that information. But the radar doesn't become redundant. That should be what the noise is on. That's where all the information should be. Okay, I should be able to go in there and select targets. That information should be clean and delivered to me. But out in the world, I want to look what's there. I want to look at my target. I want to look what I'm saying. Oh, there's a space station. Oh, there's another guy coming in. So we want to have less reliance on just AR markers for everything, and only reliance on marking things that are important to you, or you've directly marked yourself. Yeah. And I think when you fight combat experiences where you're fighting 15 ships, it's just a lot more fun, because you're not having to deal with all the extra noise. You can just focus on being the best pilot you can be. I think it's really important.
Hermes,
and I would say
you have a radar in your cockpit.
We're putting a bunch of work into the radar, which is
sitting in your lap.
Radar/star map. So like what you've never had in the PU. The original design was that that radar that you would see would also scale up, or you would scale out basically, to be a nav map, your star map, right? Your nav map.
It did work that way for a long time.
The first iteration of the PU out, the baby PU, we're like, we didn't get that working yet, so we just said, well, we'll use your Moby-Glass version, and we're still using the Moby-Glass version all these years later, and it's still mostly the code that was done all those years ago. And that's
from like
when I mentioned it,
3.0 to like 3.10, I think.
Star map's really star map.
Just most people didn't know that you could click in there.
Zoom in and zoom out, and you can zoom all the way to the radar level, or zoom all the way out to the star map. And we've put a huge amount of work into making that much more fluid, much more usable, much visually better.
Really, visually better?
And the interactive.
Like how?
So like you can be zoomed in, and you can be looking at your radar, and you can mouse over contacts, and you get the information from it. You can click them, and then that will now select it as your target, and do a lot of things that haven't really been there. So I think a lot of players, because we haven't delivered, and this is sort of at the top of the talk that Rich was talking about, was because we haven't delivered all the things. We've just delivered some of the things. Sometimes people just are focusing on certain things, and if they could do things like select the targets easily from the radar,
my stream crashed an hour and 30 minutes ago, about 30 minutes before the
that's
end of the show.
On the vehicle side, where we're sort of really trying to
Crap.
bring that all in, as well as, you know, there's other
Rusty
things that we're
says
doing
Jared's mom is
across the
watching,
team in
right?
terms of
She's
physical buttons, like when
fearing
you
for his
activate
sanity.
something,
Yeah, I would imagine
in process right now, but
he's
yeah,
kind of like looking down his little iWatch and going, getting little buzzes from Xylo going, chat is freaking out, get to the point.
Just to make it sort of feel physical, but we're going to give you modes and ease of use so that information's presenting to you well, and you can you know, have fun being lost in the world.
It's got a very dramatic
a certain
sigh.
level of customization, as we talked about, because you know some ships have better
Now he's
amenities
pouting.
and more usable places than others and stuff like that. So,
Well, the other aspect as well, in terms of just the radar and
I
scanning,
won't do this
is-
forever, kid.
It's a really good example of a feature that we've put onto the PU.
I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe this is the next 10 years of development. It's just Richard and Chris talking to each other.
Now, really, you know, I think you've seen Quantum Boost in some of the earlier videos. The premise that we want you to be is, you know, we've got this vast universe. So we want radar and scanning. We actually, you know, we have this smaller radar and scanning on the FPS. You have the smaller one that's giving you information in the room, and then the larger charged one that's giving you information about maybe the floor that you're on. It's the same principles in the ship side. It's that we want a smaller one that is fairly instantaneous, and that's kind of giving you information about the people you're fighting. Or
Still no
your
SVT.
local environment. And when I say smaller, I'm talking, say, sub 100 kilometers. You know, that's just giving me information around this area. But then we've got the charge scan.
Yeah, they did say they'd do it after the show, and
10, 15, 20,000.
because they're running out the clock here.
Then that's where Q-Boost comes in the fact that you're Q-boosting to these locations. You're not having to go, okay, there's a quantum travel marker there that's 1 million kilometers away. That's like, okay, I'm making a conscious decision to go there. But for Q-Boost, it's like, okay, I am there. I want to boost around the environment, but I want to have things spread around so that, you know, we're not just cramped in, because radar and scanning is fundamentally, it has two purposes. One purpose is to give you information about the things in your environment, and the second purpose is to help you explore. It's to help you find things that are not necessarily apparent, because space is a big, dark place. So we need that, we want to be able to take advantage of that. So when you have this ability to detect things that are much further away, all of a
I
sudden...
wonder if
you
they
start
call
to see
Disco
where
Lando's
you are.
mom Waltz
You've got to
Lando.
fly to,
Maybe.
to
Yeah.
investigate them. I mean, I think that's a good example of something on Squadron. That,
The Charleston
we're
Lando.
also looking at, like, how do we solve the problem of your, you know, patrolling an area, right? And it's not very much fun if you patrol an area and then it's like, you know, space is big. I go to this area and then I look around and my radar covers 10 kilometers.
Space
in
is
front of me,
big.
and that's
Yeah,
that
Chris,
doesn't feel
there's a
like I was
reason why they
patrolling,
call it
you know, a large area of space.
Space.
And so we sort of were thinking about, well, how, you know, really if we think about it, there's like short range, which is, you know, what you would call the standard control mode, like slower exploration. I come up to a, you know, a derelict, or there's a cluster of asteroids that I'm
This is definitely a chat that I'll be looking through for nuggets later.
Which hasn't really existed in
But my God,
both the PU,
get to it.
And it's something that we really wanted to have in Squadron, and we really should be in the PU, which is, well, you know, what's that over there that's 10,000 kilometers away? The equivalent of being on
Yeah, you know, the spirit is really
I don't know what's on it.
pretty. I don't know if I
I'll walk over to that mountain.
need it.
And so the idea with sort of the scanning is like
I might
the wave goes out.
I might
and,
CC
you'll pick
you
up things
from
10,
other
20,
ships to it.
30,000 kilometers away. So you definitely won't be able to understand what's there, but you'll say, there's something. There's a point of interest, and so you'll be able to map things.
Yes.
And then
Show it.
You know, the quantum travel, spooling up, spooling down, and so this is the whole quantum. The idea of quantum boost is your sort of mid-level traversal speed, where it allows you. It's probably about 1/10 the speed of the full quantum travel. Sort of, you know, not using all the quantum juice, if you want to think of it that way, but it allows you to sort of get there pretty quickly, and, you know, also appreciate the environment you're going
Quantum
through.
juice.
And, you know, get over there. Oh, I go up to the mountain. Okay, no, I can see what's there. Oh, there's trees here. Oh, that's really cool. And that opens up a whole bunch of gameplay. I mean, definitely helps out in Squadron, but in the PU it's massive, because in the PU, when this rolls into the PU, Now you can have exploration gameplay in space. So, for instance, you could
Which
be
we've never had.
Yeah, we've never had.
We've
So,
never had.
So you could
What's
be
that over there?
in,
10,000
big
kilometers.
nebula gas cloud,
Definitely not
scanning.
the
I
end
get a
of your
contact
ramblings.
20K away. Okay, I'm going to boost over to see what. Oh, I come up. Oh, look, it's a.
Hermes, C1 might be good for a rock miner.
Group of rocks over here. Or
Yeah, could
over
be.
here, and
Could be.
we can
The
even
MSR
be
sure
in a case
is.
where you can sort of
You'll
almost
have
sort of
crazy
round,
acceleration,
you can
so
generate some points of interest
good
when you
smuggling ship
start to
too,
scan that you can go and visit. So
or good
I
quick
think,
runner.
You know, the whole idea of sort of these three sort of levels of traversal. One is
Yeah, I guess the MSR is a Connie contemporary, not a freelancer contemporary. So this one's smaller than the MSR then.
sort of limited and, you know,
Definitely.
works
Got to be
for,
smaller than
you
the
know,
MSR.
combat and stuff like that. Then there's the quantum boost, which is sort of to, you know, fast run over to a place. And then there's the quantum travel, which is the really long, okay, I'm going to go to this planet that's 500,000 kilometers away.
People are saying, please shut up and chat.
For 5 minutes to get there. And I think that's going to open up a huge amount in the PU. I mean, it makes a big difference to the gameplay.
But I mean, we haven't seen Chris talk live for 2 years, so
Squadron in space
this kind of needed to happen.
much bigger.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing we were trying to follow. And I think it's a problem in the PU right now is when you're in space, it's sort of like, you know, most of it is
It's point to point.
it's empty for you, right? It's like you spend your time around the space stations or
Yeah, it's like empty
asteroids here around the planet. But we want to
space.
open it up a bit more and have that idea of, oh, I can detect something, I want to investigate it. So the whole sort of exploration, investigative gameplay that can happen in space now because of these different modes of travel. And
You know something? I actually don't even need to
huge
see it.
So I know we have a clip for this
I
for
think
folks who
there
maybe
is.
joined the program late
Reeled
and
him
see
in.
the flight experience.
I just kind of want to see
or if you're
Chris
watching
describe it with his
separately on
hands.
YouTube and you don't know what this looks like. Let's take a look at the quantum boost clip that we have.
Yes,
One more
let's.
time here.
Oh, we're showing it. Yeah, no, there's radar.
So just
Oh,
pull
yeah,
out,
look at
that's
that.
gonna be the old HUD.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah, I
the old
love
HUD.
CR,
That's
but
the next old HUD.
Yeah.
There we
Earlier
go.
we were showing the old HUD.
So we've done a scan here. That's also the old point of interest because the point of interest will be just points.
Yeah.
But basically, we've done a scan. We've got some points of interest that are, you know, multiple 10Ks away.
And you can see the distance there. It says 13,000.
it's a little
right-hand
busy,
side.
but I like
This
it.
is obviously just placeholder UI for the quantum boost. But again, you can just boost.
There you go,
over
placeholder
It
for
obviously has this interactive
the UI.
gameplay, which obviously went into.
Yeah, and this, by the
That-
way, that's all programmer work in progress from Yogi.
That reminds me a lot
Quantum
of
boost,
like
mechanism because you're just going to have to stay in the zone to keep in boost, otherwise you'll fall out of boost. But we've kind of
reminds me a lot of the boost in Independence
so
War.
what it's allowing you to do is sort of have that
Nice.
level traversal and investigate things without having to, you know, spend forever at 1,200 meters per second or quantum travel.
Okay, that was 15 seconds of
So
vid.
just to clarify again for folks, if you watched the flight experience segment earlier in the day, that's the old UI, which is probably closer to what you're familiar with in the PU today. What we just showed now is the new old UI, the one that was intermediate now, but we're now moving away from. And the
Well,
newer,
basically it's the same as it's the styled Squadron UI that was from the UI you have in the PU.
Right.
C1 length 35 meters, MSR length 56. Yeah, that makes sense, BC. So it's bigger. Yeah, placeholder, definitely.
Style that we did for
At
Ninja's
Rusty.
style, but it was still based on the idea of all this information. being
Yeah, so it's like
and
20
we
meters
decided we
shorter.
wanted to really scale that back to be more contextual to switch
Why,
to
that's
those. So that's one of the reasons why we're not really showing all the HUD and
60
the MFP
feet.
stuff now is because we're in the process of the change. So it's, you know, a lot of programmer are, and you even saw it in the Need for Speed segment, whereas a lot of that, like the mode stuff and everything.
It's about
they've
the same
just sort of
size as Freelancer.
adapted the modes to the current
definitely sleeker.
HUD stuff.
Yeah, show what the new HUD looks like. So we saw the old and the new old. Let's see the new new.
Too clear on the video that we were seeing, but on the video we say we were originally in SCM mode,
Yep.
standard control mode, and then we switched to quantum mode. So the spool up wasn't really the spool up for the quantum boost. The spool up was just, there's a spool up as you go into quantum mode. Your shield's powered down, so you know there is some risk when
Rusty says it's supposed to be a Cuddy competitor. Yeah, so around the same size as the Cuddy or the Freelancer would make sense.
you look at a place, you
How
can
big's the
And
Freelancer?
it's just, you press shift and it's
I
instant.
think it's around that size.
And so for people that want to, you know, go, oh,
Check
what's that over
that.
there? You know, people have been wanting to, I just want to like free quantum, right? You know, there's people who want to do that for quite a while.
It's like getting on your
basically is what
horse.
quantum is.
We used to be able to do free quantum where you could just jump any direction you wanted to, so that's kind of cool.
So we've been talking about these flight experience stuff, the ship-related stuff, the new UI stuff, the contextual changes and everything. We'll obviously show those as we get closer to being ready to show those.
Okay, so
we
now
talked
we're
a
showing,
little bit
yeah.
about the star map.
Yeah, so the
again, not quite
Freelancer is
ready to show
38
today,
meters
so,
long.
As far as those
So-
mapping things and getting around stuff, there's also the mini map. There's also the mini map, which has always been this promise of being able
Pretty-
to find your
pretty
way
close,
through
actually, a
either
little bit
really
shorter
large
than
ship
the,
or a space station or
Freelancer.
stuff like that. What can you tell us about the work on the mini map?
So radar, as we call it, is essentially, it encapsulates the star map, it encapsulates what's in your cockpit, and it also encapsulates when you're in FPS, you have an FPS radar and scanner.
Robin
And the
Richards.
minimap is essentially a way
Now
for
I
you
understand
to-
why it's
and you
been
can access
10
it both
years.
from your mobile or a
Right.
card, a way for you to get the spatial awareness in, you know, when you're in
But
a 3D environment in FPS. So
it
I
is
think what we have in terms of the
pretty.
minimap, it
The
gives you
fact that they are
3D
still
isometric
this
view
excited
that you
after
can
10
move
years
around, and all the information in
says
there
good stuff,
is
but
underpinned
they do like
by,
to talk.
the FPS radar and scanner. So
Like
the
Todd
information
Pappy's
that
pretty quiet.
You're scanning in the
Aaron's
environment
pretty
is the
quiet.
information that you'll see on the minimap.
Chris, Richard,
So if you go into, say, a
Tony,
known
they
location,
like to
let's say
talk.
you go to Microtech, you know, that
You get a
landing
lot of
zone
information from
essentially,
them, but
that will
sometimes
be
it's like,
pushed to your
gotta separate the
device.
wheat
So you'll
from
be
the
able to
chaff
load
on
up
it.
the minimap and go, okay, how do I get out of it? I mean, I've seen so many different new players play Star Citizen, and they're like, where do I go? So you know, it'd be nice for us to be able to go, here's this space.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see the new
Here's
star
the
map.
UI,
Hopefully that's what this is. I was hoping we'd see a little bit more of the new UI, but apparently that's the
That's where I
new
am.
old UI, so they've
That's
got
where
a
I can
newer
go.
one.
And it gives you a map at your fingertips. But then when you're
Unless they just
in an
haven't shown it
environment
yet.
that is not, say, let's say you go to a derelict outpost, you'll be mapping that environment as you go, or you may be able to find a terminal
Mapping
that
will be
has
the
map
key
on it
component of
that you can download,
exploration.
And then you have it to you. So it really allows us, again, Star Citizen, one of its strengths is that it's scale, but that's a challenge for us as developers to be able to give it to players. And
Shrinking more and more in my chair
navigate
as they
where
go
need to
on.
go. Because the first thing is, how do I play the game? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? So, you know, how do you play the game is about making the barrier to entry, the controls smooth and intuitive, what you understand, you know, and then it's like, where
We
do I
need to give these
go?
guys a
Cool,
script.
This allows you, we have a mini map here, and this allows you to go, oh cool, there's the spaceport, there's the shuttle, or there's the train, or this is how I get to
BC,
this
pick up a
area.
ship so
We can
far.
provide
Missed
missions that allow
23%,
people
Argo
to map into those
33%,
places
RSI
so
44.
that
Yeah,
they
looks like
understand,
RSI
okay,
might
this is
win
how I
it.
get to a certain place.
Wonder
'Cause
why
everybody, you
RSI
know, if
isn't the
somebody
most
says to me
compelling
tomorrow,
mining
you can
ship.
come round to my house
Although
or
they
go
do
to
have the Orion, don't they?
postcode and you put it into GPS. Everybody's so
Yeah, guess that makes
Exactly.
sense.
You know, you need the street level
I'd-
version of it.
I'd rather
And,
see
yeah,
Misk,
so we've long
but
wanted this. I mean, it's very critical. for-
Argo, it just sort of seems like it would be a larger
but it's
mall,
also,
which
you know,
we've already seen.
important for the PU. And you know, the concept is that
Let's see
some
RSI.
of the maps are sort of readily available. You just walk into a city, and you know the terminal auto connects to your Mobi or whatever, and you get the map downloaded. And some of them you may have to explore something, and then as you explore it, you map it, just like a sort of more traditional mapping technique. And
They did
obviously
show
cases
the
where, you know, we have some stuff in
FPS
Squadron, I
map
think,
a long time
played
ago.
perfectly well in PU, where like you don't have the map initially, but if you hack in or you can download
Or
it,
kind of like a,
Asiado is an example.
yeah, Misk would be an interesting one, especially with the Odyssey. Kind of shows what it could be like on a bigger scale.
You know, since we showed it, we thought, okay, that's
But yeah, something Starfare size that's a minor. I would love to see that UFO come in. Misk is probably the
but,
most
you know, that
likely to
would be
get that
examples. You don't
UFO
like the
shape.
layout of that place, but you would have to go and hook into their system, download the map, and then now you would have it in your mini map. So what we have is we have some footage here, which is showing how
Here we go.
the visuals, the mini map, in terms of sort of an isometric render
In engine.
in the engine, in the UI,
Show it.
will essentially become your mini map. But you'll have a more sort of, you know, reduced version with you in the middle as you're moving around. But if we run
Here we
it,
go.
you'll see kind of what the tech is. So first, this is in the editor.
Yeah, that's
but
3DS.
Essentially, what it does is it's taking our existing layouts, levels, ships. So we don't have to build this custom, but it's a way of applying certain shaders and marking up certain objects to be displayed, like the floor gets displayed, but the walls don't. So we can just take the existing geometry you already have streamed in that you're walking around already, and then use it to be rendered for our minimap. So this is essentially in the engine using the Idris ship itself and the various parts of its interior to create the minimap without any special. This doesn't have any specific custom like UI art for it, other than some of the like level things that say, ground level or whatever.
It's one of the advantages of having high detailed ships, because the
Okay.
environment's already in a good state to show straight out the gate.
And so the idea of this being systemic is that when the feature is ready to go, ready for prime time, and everything, we can just apply it to space station.
Yeah, because a lot of
landing
traditional
zones.
game development, you have to make custom minimaps.
Yeah.
So you look at an environment and you go, we have to make a custom environment minimap. So if we want to support lots, tens, hundreds, and thousands of locations,
Especially for the PU.
and absolutely for the PU, it's just not viable. So we wanted to come up with a solution that we can use, with minimal effort on the side of content creation, but gives us all of the information that we want. And this minimap is not just, oh, that's where I am. It can show you objectives, it can show you other people, it can show you information about those things. And again, it's all underpinned by the Radon scanner. So when we call it the minimap, this is just a kind of how you view your radar information in FPS. And your radar scanner gives you so much more information than just, oh, that's the name of the door. It tells you what's the state, does it have power, can I hack it? If it's a person.
Must be hitting
what's
his
that
mic.
status? Are they injured? So if you're coming into here and going,
He's
I'm trying to
doing this too much.
mission, I've got a marker, I can go, cool, I can get a scan of the local lie of the area and go, right, this person's injured. Oh, his body's injured too. Oh, he's got a tier 1 injury. I'm going to go and help him before he bleeds out because I can see his health. And you'll be able to see that via this information.
Yeah, it allows you to detect saboteurs or intruders,
Absolutely.
but then using like the relay network and whatever, those saboteurs and intruders can start pulling fuses. And start
Focusing
hiding
on him
themselves.
so they can go
It's
fix the
also
mic.
underpinned resource network.
Yeah,
So
so exactly that the
signal.
same visuals and
Just to
text
hit his
plan
mic.
to-
Soros is saying, I hope they take Neomisk into Royal Naboo direction, if that makes sense. It does, yeah, that would be
which
cool.
doors are open or closed.
Chris's mic is
basically
taking over.
pull up
Yeah, it
your-
kind of makes sense they give him priority
holographic view of
for
your
some
ship
reason.
like that using the same text. So that the idea is those two things work well together.
All right, so we've been talking about the FPS stuff, the stuff that affects the player specifically, and we're going to touch a few more of those things before we leave today. We've moved up into space and talked about our flight experience and the scanning and the minimap and stuff. Now, from ourselves and our ships, let's talk about our enemies, our opponents, the entities we're going to encounter, and talk about some of the AI improvements that have
Here we
been
go.
coming because of work on Squadron. What can you
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
us?
a bunch of
So
those have
the
wrapped
AI
in the last
systems that
couple
we
weeks.
have, we basically threw them away. So we found out we wanted to understand where we wanted to go, what we wanted to achieve, and over the years as I've worked in games, and I think probably Chris would attest to as well, is that the best AI are kind of some of the simpler AI that you have a really good solid foundation, then you build on top of it. And I think our AI over the period of time that has been there, I think it's kind of had lots of different iterations, and it kind of lost its way a little bit.
Kythera, and then
Yeah, it's kind of lost. So what we've done, and
Well,
when we say
they've also no one's the AI that's in the PU has never really had tuning time.
BC, a few more,
Focus.
so
And
2 hours?
It was a basic implementation
Right?
at the beginning, and then it's
I mean, it's
rolled out.
great
There's so many
information. I'm
other
going
things
to
going on
definitely be
that
diving
they
into
haven't
this
had time
later.
to focus on
Kind of watching these two
playing and
talk for a
service
while.
running at 6
But
frames a second. There's a whole bunch of problems that come
because the
with this
things
that
they're talking about now, it
doesn't
used to
help
be
the
during
AI
CitCon, they'd do this,
so
but
this
they'd
is
be
one- this
talking
is actually a
about,
really good
we
example
want to,
where
or
Squadron
we would like
really
it
helps,
to,
because
and all
we're
this.
saying,
This
okay,
is
don't
stuff
worry
they've
about
actually
that.
wrapped
Yeah, I'm
in the
sorry
last
that
couple
the
weeks,
AI
so
is kind of brain dead a lot of the times. In the
they still
PU.
need to
It's a combination of the
kick it out.
it's older logic and behaviors haven't been well developed, but also
Rusty, they need to stop scrapping years of work. If not, it's not fun anymore. Yeah, they do, but if it's not working, it's not working. So
we'll also make it better.
They can't have a cyberpunk situation.
The Squadron side is that we can really just focus on the AI, the behavior.
But they do need to get it out the door eventually too.
Adding sort of interest and complexity and making them feel like real humans fighting you, or in the case of Vandal, real aliens fighting you, and not
or creatures.
Or creatures, yeah. Well, hey, let's be quiet about that. But not get tied up in some other problems that come with multiplayer, come with online servers, and make that work really good as a single player, having fun, feeling challenged,
just had
I'm not
Monty Python moment. Or herself.
And I can easily blast. And when that all works, then comes across into the PU, especially when some of the later stuff's going to trigger in the PU, I think it'll be a whole different experience. And it's I won't argue it's been like a long, hard slog on the AI side. It's partly because we want it to become really systemic, and we have a massive, especially in the PU, a massive world that can have all these different situations. So it's not, like if you're doing a standard FPS game, a Call of Duty, like the narrative parts of it, you know exactly where everyone's going to be, and you can sort of script actions for the AI to make them seem intelligent, but really they're kind of following scripts. Whereas with us, all the different planets, all the different, can you be, locations on the planets or up in a spaceship, or all these different situations the AI could be in.
That's true.
There's no way you could script it all. So
that's a really fair point.
Systemic. It needs to understand the environment. It needs to have perception of what's happening around it, and be able to communicate with the other AI it's fighting alongside to seem like they're working as a team. And so that takes time to work. The AI team is been working on it for a long time, led by Francesco Riccucci, who's been doing a great job. And
Free Jared is trending in the Twitch chat.
Yeah,
this
100%.
year, because I've both me and Rich actually, we were playing it when some of the blast systems came in, and it was challenging to say the least.
Yes.
And challenging in a good way, in like the fact that we were like, okay, we want to clear everyone out. Like we were running Asiato as a test level. Okay, let's see if we can just run and gun and take all the slavers out.
Rambo it. No, not in this game.
I mean, Rich is a much better FPS player than me. I think I'm kind of okay, but Rich is much better. But no, we weren't all managed to get it. But I was like, I'm going home. I downloaded the build and home. I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna finish this level. I'm like, I almost managed to do it. I mean, it was it was like Elden Ring from software. Like I want to do it one more time. And it wasn't just that you were getting like a headshot or anything where it was like, okay, the AI is just supernatural and they can instantly shoot you. It was like they were moving around, they were anticipating where you were doing, they're trying to flank your areas, and they were behaving intelligently. And those are all behaviors and systems that we've been working on.
That's cool.
Like realistic perception, like they can hear a sound around a corner, but if you were 3-4 doors away or whatever, maybe they wouldn't hear you if you dropped something. And see where
What's
you
that?
were see you in the peripheral
I guess it was nothing.
vision, or they'd have different ways of approaching, searching for you or fighting you. Whether they're more aggressive and they're pushing up towards you, or they're defensive and they're staying behind cover, or they're trying to flank you. So there's a whole bunch of work that's done, and so on the AI side, I'm actually feeling like it's going to be some pretty great stuff. And so that is going to be stuff that will ultimately be coming to the PU, and it'll be really cool. But I don't know if Rich wants to add a bit to it.
Well, I need to ask something, because I've spent more than a single day on the internet before. When you say we've thrown everything away.
Well, actually, I was about to come back to that. So
because that's going to be the title of the Kotaku article.
Well, it's interesting because what we talked about is we identified everything that was there. So when I came on, I wanted to understand where we're talking years now. So
here you go, Rusty.
What's there? How do we
see what they actually scrapped?
So we're not throwing away the more technical underpinnings of the.
They did hire a bunch of new AI people.
Like subsumption, or like how the how they navigate in platforms. find around the world. It's more about the bits that you go and you tune and the bits you tweak. And we call them behaviors, like AI behaviors. So what we did is we
Jared's pretty good at that. Jared does have his finger on the pulse of this community.
Essentially, defender, so I want to stay back and cover and defend a location. A strafer who kind of wants to get, siege you and wants to go behind you, and then pushers that kind of want to put pressure onto you. So we wanted to create these 3 core behaviors that the AI can choose to go, they can choose, combat behaviors this is. So once you've engaged in combat, they can then select one of these behaviors to engage you so that you get a mixture of combat when you're fighting them. And obviously you might get 3 defenders or you might get 1 strafer and 2 pushers. And we've got a video to show some of the behaviors. But then what we have is we have a trait system that sits on top of that, and that's where design.
They need to have somebody off screen with like a cush ball to just kind of throw it at Richard, kind of be like, Richard,
behavior, or I want him to
let the video talk for you.
Like a turret, so he never moves from cover to cover. Or
show, don't tell.
To be, I want always to be a pusher. I want them to, be aggressive. I want them to be reckless. I want them to have friendly fire.
I'm 50-50 on the C1.
Essentially, we've got 3 base behaviors that just by themselves play well. You can play that and go, okay, do these 3? Is that a fun experience? Then you can start adding in all the other things on top. You go, okay, I want this trait and this trait. So you're crafting combat experiences. So in a PU mission, if you've got a ship coming in bringing AI reinforcements, we can say, okay, we can weight the behavior. So you're not getting the same thing every time, but you can go, okay, you get these guys who push, they're quite aggressive because that's their faction, whether it's Ninetales, or these guys are quite defensive, they're more military. And what we have is these traits that multiply the behavior. So now we've got multiple different things. And then you add different weapons in there. So you've got sniper rifles, so the different engagement ranges. And all of a sudden you have this matrix of individual behaviors that is multiplied into the hundreds that allows us to have a really strong combat experience that is not the same. It's not, Star Citizen game.
People are tuning out, but that is huge.
You don't want to just
this will be the tech that will make this game.
We want you to be able to ramp up the combat. We want to have factions play differently. We want you to have different experiences.
Playable for a long time.
When we looked at the AI combat behavior, that's something we identified. But then we also looked at perception and
like you won't be approaching situations like Rambo.
That allows us that you come around the corner. It's not just instant headshot. Because to be honest, AI, it's very easy to make AI that are amazing. Because they're just computer. They know where you are. They know exactly what they don't have to mouse aim. It's just instant headshot. It's very easy to make them too hard.
It's not human.
No, right? Exactly. What we want to do is we want to make it challenging but fair, and that is when we were.
That is hard to pull off.
Playing through Asiado, even though it was very challenging, when we died, it was because we made a mistake. It was like, okay, I didn't check my left when I came out here, and I'm like, I got taken out. And we've also
Cyberpunk was very good at that.
Accuracy is that
even you could go full Rambo,
they don't immediately have a bead on a target and they pull the trigger.
When you died, almost 9 times out of 10, it was your fault.
Pop out of cover, they're like, oh, someone's there. It's not instantly on you. They've got a bit of time. And then what we wanted to do is that we don't want AI to be 100% accurate, but we want you to still feel pressure.
They still need to show the video.
Silhouette-based accuracy model now, so that if they do miss, kind of you getting that sense of like, pew, pew, it's kind of going past your head, and you're like, okay, I'm under pressure. And we want the AI to pressure you, but pressure you in a way that you feel like, oh, what? How did he shot me through a box? Like, he's pushing that way, and you're hearing him, and you're like, okay, they're coming this way, and I'm being pincered. And I think that's where we've put our real focus on terms of how they perceive you in the environment when they're socially active, how do they perceive you in combat. And then we have pretty much 90% of what I've talked about there is in the game. We've had balanced passes, we've played it, it's a lot of fun. And then what we have on top of that is future things that we're going to be adding even more. So, we've got versions of them doing medic behavior and reviving allies and ammo management and all the other advanced combat behaviors that we can pull on top.
8:30 over in the UK.
But they're underpinned by an absolute solid foundation. So if you strip all of it back just to those 3 base behaviors, the defender, pusher, strafer, is it fun? Because if it's not fun there, it's not going to be fun here. You can't just keep relying on.
That's why
it's going to get fun when we do this.
I need Vandal crew members.
We pulled it back
right there. You just
have a challenge.
Send in the Vandal.
Feel like you're being pushed, that you feel like you're under pressure. Especially in Squadron, you're not a commando, you're a fighter pilot. You know, fighter pilots don't go in and, you know, they're not John Rambo. And again, in the PU, you could be a haulage trucker, or you might want to do something else. You might want to be doing just a homestead, so you want to do trading. And so when you get into FPS, we need to have the AI reflect the level of difficulty that we want to push into a persistent universe.
Yeah, and I mean,
So rusty slave gameplay.
Yeah,
it's
disingenuous.
I don't know about that. I'll
game developer
definitely be getting my hands.
You have V1, then you have V2, then V3.
My plan in the verse was to get have a bridge crew. Back when I was thinking I'd run a bridge crew that would just be NPCs, just have one that was each of the alien races. Van Duel would probably be the hardest one to get.
More ones that are
Put shot collars on them.
More of the things we talked about, like the perception, the accuracy, and
Yeah, just don't go into civilized space with that setup. But
FPS combat behaviors.
Correct.
they are going to have
7
segments.
segments I did about the bartenders. Those are all still accurate.
No, social. So I mean, social AI and combat behaviors. There is social.
We've redone the chow line yet again.
Social AI is staying
More
the same.
mess hall. More mess hall.
Mess hall, the mess hall will never end.
But we'll also be using some of these.
Jared's trying to reel it in. He's like, all right.
The flight AI.
He kind of has the same dilemma that I have, that what Richard is saying is always
Jousting and how we want to
intensely interesting and important for the project, but on the other hand, he's got show to run. So
traits and how that's something that we'll have holistically across AI.
they need to go to a
across our
tight
system
shot
as a whole.
on Richard,
You know, we're showing
that
it as
one,
the FPS,
and
but it's
have
very similar.
Jared
So
start
it's
waving
something
him
that-
off.
I mean, we can
or
show the clip.
to know.
Got this poor Atmo esports guys waiting.
Just did it. Just did it. Guarantee. Jared was just like, kill it.
So what I'd suggest, I think we'd probably show.
You see how quickly he switched topics?
The other things outside of, you just talked about combat.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of other
Shit.
behavior in terms of, because, like I said, stealth gameplay is a lot.
I don't think Chris saw the signal.
Squadron is the test bed for that. So
Jared's losing his shit right now.
Let's go check it out. They radio their, back to base or their buddy. Hey, I heard something here. Or if they get in a gunfight, they could actually.
Watch Jared. Is he going to give the signal to the cameraman?
That's all behaviors that's working right now in Squadron.
Yep.
And then on top of that,
Yeah, I know what those off-camera signals
and
are.
all the rest of stuff. But really, the main.
I don't think Chris saw it, because Chris was watching Richard, not Jared.
AI is Squadron. There's a lot more stuff happening in Squadron that will come in.
Now he's trying to catch his attention. Let's see if Chris looks up, sees him. Nope, looking at Richard.
Engineers going.
Come on, Chris, look a little more left.
Business or a janitor.
More left.
Cleaning up messes that people leave systemically, or for instance,
Flight attendants or hangar personnel.
yeah, the hangar people
do the whole-
basically operating on
Chris,
a hangar
look
and
left.
they're not fixing something. They're having a conversation.
He's deep in the weeds
There's a whole
now.
Dynamic conversation system that Francesco's been working on that allows our AI, say, aboard the Stanton, which is the interest that you're based in. Good
And it's
Fortune
huge.
Squadron.
Conversation, when you're playing through a level and you can hear them talking to each other and reacting to what's happening, it all of a sudden brings that space to life.
So yeah, but the dynamic conversation system allows it. So we have some that are sort of more story scripted conversations,
Yeah.
like if you eavesdrop on some people patrolling and it.
Damn, this is intense to watch. Right.
There's dynamic
Is Chris going to look left? Just left. Just 5 more degrees. 5 more degrees. It's like being in a shootout with really intense AI.
Talking about what they think the best
I'm not going to look at it.
ship thrust.
If I don't make eye contact, it didn't happen.
There's a system in for that, and we're creating a recording. But that's also a system that's going to come into the PU. That's going to.
Here it is. Here it is. Now they're all. Yeah, you see him look at the camera. The camera guy's all like, no, no.
Around the big point of interest in cities, people will be having conversations, gossiping, talking about, oh well, I heard there was something went on. The Ninetales attacked someone in Horizon.
It just changed aspect ratio. What was that about?
Dynamic, which is really cool.
And it
because
just adds so much.
it
just adds so much.
So let's look at some of this in action. We don't have the conversation system stuff to show today, but let's look at some of the.
I love Jared so
Look
much.
at some of the combat stuff you were talking about.
Oh, Space
So we've actually
Dad,
got it as
who is
2
3 years
videos.
younger
So
than
it's
me.
Investigation in the test map, and what you're seeing here, in some respects,
Write a
you might think
note.
This is scripted. That this is something that we just put on a track. This is purely systemic. So if we captured this 20 different times, it would be 20. It would play out 20 different ways.
So those individual there is going away to hide behind that orangey boxy, whatever we want to call that color.
So that's the player.
He's going to
essentially.
go. This is essentially a stand for the player.
It's copper.
The other two AI are searching for him at the moment. The white spheres you see are basically
What I would
hiding a cover spots.
love
As AI
to see
mode, as the AI goes around and they
is to
search,
have it that if you killed one of those
spheres
guys
go
and the
away,
other guy found the
indicating,
body,
okay, they've checked that place.
there isn't a time limit. Like if I were walking around with my friend and my friend got shot, I wouldn't look around for 30 minutes and then be like, yeah, guess it was nothing, and go back to my patrol. I'd be like, someone killed him. Everybody get down here, and we're looking until we find this person.
Basically, all the nooks and crannies in the room, they're clearing the cover points and they're sharing together. So you'd see here that they're going, okay, this guy's coming in and go, okay, there's an open vent. Again, this is systemic. He's just coming to investigate this vent, but he's not cleared this entire room yet, so he's not going to progress. And he's just going to go and check the rest of the room alongside.
Yeah, that's cool. This is why you show and rather than tell.
Progress. But again, here would
right
be,
here.
You'd hear them talking to each other. I've not found him yet. Where is he? And again, if that we've got vents in
Checks
here.
the other vent.
Yeah, so we also have other usables. So
He already cleared that space.
Something you can hide in, or they're going through systemically.
But they're leaving themselves vulnerable at the same time.
Only a few balls left now. The ones
But
right,
the fact that it could be different every time, you wouldn't be able to play it once and be like, okay, so they're going to go here first.
Go, okay.
Yeah, that's neat.
In here, I'm now going to progress to the next space because that's where, they're not in here. I think they're going to go this way.
Never cleared that space? Oh, no, he's doing it now.
One's left. He's going to check it. He's going to come through here. Cleared those, so now he's coming around here. And
fire away! And what you're seeing here with the bar, which starts off, is something that we've added for the perception. So they start off in green, and then it goes to yellow, then amber, then red. So once it goes to red, that's into full combat. Yeah. But the previous states are kind of levels of, they go up based on levels of different perception. So a green they just might have seen you. That's the equivalent of going, huh? Did I see something? No.
And by the way, in the game, you don't see that. That's our
no, that's our debug.
That's just indicating the level, and the level in the game would be.
But we'll have audio and visual representation for those levels. So the initial green one would be
that's cool.
Like a head turn, maybe a verbal cue. Then you're getting into the yellow and amber. That's where they're turning to face the noise and going.
So Hermes is saying the AI were like, huh,
maybe they'll walk over there to investigate. Or
must be a suicide,
one of them goes,
right?
Yeah, you go check it out. And then he goes and checks it out. And then we
just don't get how he shot himself in the back 15 times. It's weird.
And once they've been threatened, like in most games,
when tractor beamed all his clothes off,
then de-escalate to the green, and it's like their minds have been, it's like MIB, they flash through memory, it's gone. In our game, what they do is they go to a threatened state, and in that threatened state,
there it is.
They'll still do their social activities and their functions, but they're more perceptive. So as soon as they see, for like he's there again, they'll get into it. So it makes a difference that if you've gone wow at the start and then tried to hide, you can't just go, oh no, they'll forget about me. It has memory, and that will be the case in the PU as it is in Squadron. So
that's huge.
So that was on a test map.
Yes,
we do have an example of it working.
Yep. So I'll roll the clip.
Let's take a look at the real deal.
So here's in Asiado in the decommissioned area. You can see the two AI in the distance catch you. And then this is kind of just a representation of it doing the same thing in a real environment. But obviously we wanted to show you the kind of the thing behind the curtain. What are they actually doing? They're checking cover points. They're checking the usable.
That's really cool.
And then, in a lot of the cases when we actually captured this video, if we actually failed because they pincered the player and they actually found you before we were able to show you, what was happening.
Yeah, because
so
it would have gone up the one way.
It's really good to see how this transition from social into combat so that you can actually play through the game.
Better check that out.
So here he's checking a usable.
See him check his back there?
Like,
that was...
Okay, is there anything there? Nothing there. And again, he's sharing that.
Man, I've trained people on FPS that weren't that good at this.
4 AI that are searching, then obviously they're sharing.
Yeah, that would start to get a little bit hairy.
Nobody's found you.
You may not be able to see them, but you're gonna know they're out there looking for you. And if you stay in the same place for too long, they will find you.
Yeah, so you can see the one in the background. Is
Yeah, so you're going to have to start moving. It's not going to be the whole crouch in a bush thing.
I think the Ross, who did
Whatever it is, it was
captured all
gone.
the videos, I think he takes a bit of revenge.
And again, not scripted.
But you see he still has his gun at the ready.
Hiding places. This is their station. They understand the hiding places. They understand where to look, and they just go through.
Yeah, so you can drop these enemies in any environment, and they will play out like this. But
Assume they're going to have different
the
experience
choices
levels
that
too.
they make at runtime will be different. And this is where we have to make sure that the AI that we're working on, even though we're working on it in Squadron,
And they
it has to
do give you a
work for the
chance to
entirety
pop
of
them.
Star Citizen in all the different environments, in all the different scenarios that you're put in. So it's a major improvement.
So that's hiding from the AI, but let's look at some of the combat tactics now. So let's do combat tactics 1.
Yeah, Jared's rolling it along.
So again, what you're seeing here is in a test map. We wanted to kind of show you a bird's eye view. So we've just turned God mode on so you can see it. And you can see the labels here. So we've got the defenders that kind of push to cover points.
Strafe.
Then we've got the pusher who's kind of pushing
Defender,
towards
defender,
you.
strafe,
And then we've got the
pusher.
strafer who is kind of like taking more of a wider angle. Now, there are some similarities between all of the behaviors, but it depends on what happens. So whether they go to cover, a pusher, for example, can still go from cover to cover. A defender can still go to cover. So it's not like you've got these binary choices. It's about weighting the different choices throughout the behavior so that the AI provides something different, but also applies pressure to you as a player so that you're having to react to the AI. Right now, our current AI, you basically get the jump on them and you can just take them all out. But in reality, what we want is we want you to react to the AI because they're pushing you and challenging you. And we want that challenge to be fair so that you feel like you've made the mistake when you eventually, or if you do, get taken out.
I want to get some of that God mode. And then we have one more video showing the tactics situation. Let's take a look at that.
So this is just a short
Russ says, good to see it all coming together. Yeah.
AI.
Yeah, we're kind of at that stage in development
And they roll the
where
dice for, they don't always become defenders or always become pushers or strafers.
I would
it can be random every time. So the combat
expect
experience is
this.
different.
The reason I think we're moving into
all be
beta.
pushers and they might all be defenders, but the way it works is if one of them rolls a defender, then the weight for them to roll another defender is...
Good AI makes all the difference. Oh man, did you see how that guy just kind of snuck up to the upper level?
Just because we want to show you the behaviors themselves rather than get taken out. So he's being a bit more aggressive than you probably would be able to.
Sorry, down to 50 health.
Make the eventual speed runs a lot harder because they're not just Goombas that do the same thing every time.
Right.
You memorize the patterns.
And the other thing you might have noticed as well is that we're starting to have traversal opportunities for the AI. So they're not always just on the base map.
Snuck up on him again.
In fact, I'm not sure.
Oh.
Crouch, mantle, climb ladders.
They can jump over railings and push you, or they can climb up onto things and shoot down on you.
Now he's only 70% health.
They can do all sorts of stuff. So we're putting a fair amount of work into AI traversal, so they sort of understand the environment and how to traverse over it other than just flat ground. And of course, on some of that, I think you saw some of that.
Definitely going to be a game that comes for enemies seem actually threatening. Yeah, no kidding. That's looks almost like Tarkov a little bit. Yeah, Chris has mentioned Tarkov a bunch of times as kind of a pattern he wants to build off of.
Making him feel real, like you're playing against another real player or a human.
All right, well, we are just about out of time. I think we got 2 more talking points we want to cover before we let you go.
Oh, Lord.
Let's start with one that might be surprising to some. Most people maybe not, they won't know about it. We haven't done a lot of talking about it in the past. Skills. There's what can you tell us about skills in Squadron 42?
So skills, it's not just Squadron 42, it will be Star Citizen as well. So we've split them up into kind of 2 areas. One is physical attributes. So we have 4 physical attributes.
This will be like the special kicks and stuff like that you can get.
Fitness. And then we
okay.
Which is kind of like
just wondering if they're going to go
or traversal. So if you look at the physical attributes, what we have, essentially we're going to have a skill system that you can go and the way
just
that you play
about
the game will dictate
out of time,
the level
right?
of these particular skills. So if you're constantly carrying boxes, you know, you may get stronger, so you can actually lift stronger things. But
Get
getting
swole,
stronger
carry
doesn't
boxes.
just allow you to lift heavier boxes, but it also means that your equip load that you can
Heavy
carry in
box is
your
also what I
inventory
call your mom.
is higher. That weight doesn't affect you as much. So
I
you're
made a
not-
mom
you're
joke.
getting
It was
your
really good.
strength
You missed
because
it.
It's not affecting your stamina as much. You know, your force reactions, you're more resistant to that because you're stronger in yourself. Agility
That was
is
a hell of a
like
dirty
weapon
look.
swapping or going to ADS. We have endurance, so that's, for example, like how resistant you are to the environment. If you look at, say, Navy SEAL training or SES training in Britain, essentially, you know, they have cold weather training. They have, you know, you can survive in harsher climates. You can go longer without sustenance. And then that's what essentially endurance gives you. And also, for example, like G-force and redout, so that you know, pilots train for that so they can actually modulate their breathing so they're actually able to sustain higher Gs than a normal person would be. And then you have fitness. So fitness, for example, you can have a higher stamina. So when we have swimming, you can swim longer. You can hold your
Skills are
breath,
hit or miss.
sprint
GTA
longer.
5, for example,
So we
kind of
have these physical
flopped in that
attributes, and
department.
we have
Yeah,
multiple
you
different
can't.
ways of how you improve them.
They've
And
been
those
saying for a
physical
long time that
will denote how effective
the skills
you are
of
in
you
the game.
as
And
the
that comes
player
obviously for flying as well as
are the skills in the game.
FPS. We're
But
not
it
going
does
to be
make sense
removing
that
any
your
skill elements,
character
so there's
would
nothing
get
we're going
stronger
going,
if they were doing things in game to build their strength. So if they're talking skills in that aspect,
that's always relying
all
on
for
your
it.
skill. This
Like,
is the things that you can't necessarily
If you
improve.
work
So
on climbing and you
like
become
selecting
more
how
adept
far
at climbing,
you
it
can
makes
sprint, how
sense.
far you can sprint.
Almost like a role-playing
all
game.
of those different things that are tied into your physical attributes.
Well, it's like real life, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like, you've got to spend some time if you want to increase your strength. I mean, yes, you could naturally be
But
born strong,
this is the right way to do it, as opposed to you kill 10 people and then you can put a point into combat or something, or you could put a point into computer hacking. It's not going to work like that.
180, right? Where you couldn't
You're
do
actually
180
doing the
back at
work.
beginning. You had to
That
work the same as
attribute
you're,
will
like,
go
running,
up.
you know, work your way
Skills
up
is probably a
something.
bad
So
word.
That's kind of the idea. Is there are things
But
that you
I
do
agree. That's
during the gameplay that you know,
It's
your
tricky.
gameplay can add to it. But if you want to take some time and go to the gym and do some squats, you know you can get some of your strength up. And again, that's part of like making that the living world. So if you want to invest in your character that way, in a sort of more realistic way, the way the world was, because like Rich says, we still want all the skill in terms of being able to, you know, aim and shoot and do all the rest of the stuff. Then you can do that if that's something that makes sense for.
So Rusty's saying either make skills have negligible effects or require regular maintenance. Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. You shouldn't be able to just lift a crate 5 times and have a strength of 10 and then have a strength of 10 forever. It should kind of ramp off after a little while. Kind of like what they do with Reputation.
Take someone down, I can outrun them, you know?
Yeah, because if you're wearing the same if you're wearing heavy armor and they're wearing heavy armor, and you've put
That's
effort
kinda cool.
into, you know,
That's kinda cool.
skilling up your character because you're saying, you know, that's the dedicated area of focus that you want. You know, you can run further than them. You can carry things, you know, that are heavier than they can. You can equip things onto you and it doesn't affect you as much.
Like
So
Buddha
all those
Baker getting
different
run
physical
down by
attributes
DK
allow
Metcalf. You look behind you, you got some 6'4" guy
we
that
have
can
the
run faster
technique
than
side
you,
of things.
tearing
So we're
down
gonna
on
have
your
multiple different
backside.
techniques for
A little
lots of different
scary.
skills across the star system, but a good one to how to explain it.
There's a
It's
football
almost
reference.
like the 10,000 hours. You know, if you do
Google it
10,000
though, it's
hours,
pretty
you'll
funny.
get better at something. So takedowns is a good example. So the first time you do a takedown, you know, that's going to be quite sloppy. It's going to take quite a long time. You know, you might struggle and okay, eventually you take them down.
Dear
It's
God!
like, oh, okay.
What are you
That is
doing?
It's not very good.
Stab me
And
in the
after a certain amount
throat
of time,
harder!
You know, you practice at them.
Yeah, more
then
takedowns you do, the better
you'll get better. So then they'll change different animations. So now you'll unlock a different animation where it's smoother. Yeah.
Hermes 12-ounce curls are great.
All the versions of
Right?
takedown
Yeah.
from sloppy to super killer pro.
Yeah, and at the end ones, it'd be like, you know,
Like
straight in, straight
Bruce
out.
Waits.
You lower him down onto the
Right
floor.
over there.
It takes, you know, it's much
Right, Ray?
faster.
Your dumbbells?
But you've put in the effort to
Oh, he's
level that
mad at me.
skill to a level that you want to.
So much damn info, I won't be able to focus in school.
It's about giving players goals that they can do.
Yeah, CitCon's always like that though.
Melee, like fist
Melee
fighting,
combat,
or
yeah.
knife fighting, Longer term, we want to sort of, this is more PU, not Squadron, but introduce, say...
Yeah, the melee was something that they mentioned a long time ago, and I was trying to figure out how they were going to do it, because they had one guy that does like a spinning roundhouse kick on someone in Squadron 42 demo. This is like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I think somebody asked, can we learn to do that? And they're like, oh, maybe.
But I mean,
essentially build your character.
If you look at fighter pilots nowadays, or Formula One car races, you know.
It wasn't last year. Yeah, last year was more just
Get in the car and, like, the car
long ISC episodes. They didn't have the conversation. They usually have some like round table here. Usually not live for this reason right
so
here.
That's what it gives you. It gives us that ability for you to specialize your character in areas that if you really enjoy FPS, then you can push it that. If all you care about is flying ships because you want to be a fighter pilot,
Mordhau Inspired. I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to check
I
that.
want to level up endurance because endurance allows me to hold more.
Look it up. I apparently got plenty of time before the next clip.
I'm not going to black out because I'm going to be able to do it. And it's those slight 1% differences that allow you to put some effort into do. And that you should be.
Oh yeah, that's the
organically. So you're not
that's the sort of night game. Yeah. I do know what that one is. I never played it, but yeah, that one looks solid. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'd hope so.
Like,
good artist Sparrow, great artist Steel.
Like
get that in the game.
You want to go and kind of like level them yourself, but you'll also just be able to level them by naturally playing what you like in the game.
That Pilates area and Microtech.
Well, we went all the info, and then the other thing that we're going to do, which will tie into the last thing you're going to talk about, is the way that you'll sort of track this is the same way as I've got an Apple Watch on here, and I can have my health app that will tell me kind of how unfit I am, right? Or how fit I am. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's mostly unfit. But
COVID-19 hit him a little bit hard. He was looking pretty good a couple years ago. Jared looks rough. Yeah, Jared doesn't sleep a lot before CitCon.
There's a complete.
That's why they have like the 2 weeks off afterwards.
And the first iteration is in Squadron. There's a sort of cut down.
He's had some health issues the last couple of years too. I hope he's doing all right.
You don't need all the cargo trading and all that kind of stuff that you would want to.
Gotta work out more, kid.
It's a framework that we're building almost like a our own
operating
MobiOS
system.
Take a walk, eat a vegetable.
All in building blocks, so all Flash stuff's gone away. It's been built to be extensible. There's been some tech and thought into how it looks and rendered, which is much nicer and transitions much better between the modes.
Yeah, this is a hell of an info dump here.
Squadron,
but
where you'll sort of be able
I think I have an idea for my next show is to kind of go through and chop this up a little bit with commentary.
Also, like, okay, here's my
just kind of pull out the nuggets and take out this sort of pit.
Basically, sort of I've been playing the game. Here's my mission assignment.
I mean, it has been
here's the ship chat
2.5 hours, and I think 2 hours of that has just been Richard and Chris talking.
Obviously your nav map, star map, and all that will be in there.
And Galactopedia.
The Galactopedia, so you can look up, and then in the PU, it's going to just get expanded and maybe potentially have a slight UI difference to be not the military version, but be the civilian version. But it will all go in the same framework using the same base work. So one of the things
we haven't seen Ben for a while talking about people that used to be huge members of the community, but Ben always used to let leaks slip, so they stopped putting them on. He had some health issues too, but he's apparently still around.
PU is because there's a hodgepodge of the old system, which is the old sort of
Rusty. I don't think I'd have the strength to go through this again. I'd
extend stuff right now.
I'd have ponies or something playing in the background, but yeah,
Squadron's one of the ways.
I might do a Cliff Notes version because there's some good stuff in here.
And make it easier. So then in the PU,
there's a lot of fluff.
Easier and simpler. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything more on the Moby.
Well, I'd roll the clip that we have.
Yeah, what an idea.
Take a look.
Yeah, Jared's like, it's like, what, 9 or 10 o'clock at night over there? What time is it in the UK?
Like the overview. So, it's the overview of your player, it's the overview of
9
your
o'clock.
ship, and then it's like your primary objective. So, and all of these widgets that we call them are kind of shortcuts to the kind of the main focus areas.
Alerts as you
New
go to
Moby
the
Glass.
page.
So you can see here we've got your messages. So this is kind of like the email client. And on the right, you've got
Nuggets
kind of like
buried
chip
6
chat
feet
that's
deep.
coming in with general chip chat from the AI, which again is kind of just making it believe that you're in this, believable environment or a real life environment.
Oh, that's cool. He's talking about not to be a dick, but did Morrow forget to blah blah blah. Yeah, that's cool.
The information, it's something that we've tried to be consistent across the HUD and the Moby, is that we want to make sure that we're giving you clean information.
And you can see like the alerts. So the alerts are now cleared from the messaging app because we've read the messages, so it's gone. But there was an alert down on our side here, but now we've gone and looked at it. It's
nice.
So that's the system. It's a framework.
So there's the new Moby.
You'll get notifications or alerts. Oh, look, I got a new message over here. I'll click over to it. Now we're back.
And the biggest thing as well is it's like in everyday life,
building blocks is hell of a game changer.
Facing with computers.
I want to get the Banu version of the Moby. Just have it be gibberish, flashing lights and ads and stuff.
Everybody does it every day. So when we come to things like the Moby Glass, we have to have a level of familiarity that people understand. It's like, okay, this is intuitive to use. And it comes back to really the original message that we started this talk with. We want to make sure that the game that you're playing, we're removing the barrier to the entry, we're removing the complexity so that you can enjoy the stuff that you want to enjoy, that you want to go and do. You want to go and do missions. You want to go and, get equipment or...
Phantom Moby. It's just a spike through your arm.
A lot of the things when we look at this, where you go from player interaction experience to improve traversal, to improve HUD, star map, Moby is a combination of that, where we want to provide all this different information, but we want to provide it in a way that you're familiar with, that you can go, we don't need to reinvent how you read emails, or we don't need to reinvent.
Thank you. There's a lot of things you don't need to reinvent.
And you want to have the information.
Good. I am.
Moby. Like, okay.
I am really glad to hear them say that.
Is it breathable? Yeah. Do I need a helmet? Is it hot? Is it cold? You look at an Apple Watch. Or my wife has an Apple Watch, so she's got a Fitbit, and it's like, okay, this is your heart rate, and this is your oxygen. You need to have that information at your fingertips, so you can go. Okay,
they have something they're holding back here. I'm real curious what it is. I think.
You're not just going to be all wearing heavy armor going into the ships, and you might not have an EVA pack, and you've got to.
They're really burying the lead if they're going to say Squadron is going to beta, but I think that's coming.
All these things together as a unified experience.
But I wasn't expecting that until IA or December.
System or active status or
like a letter from the chairman.
Readouts and inventory and hover trolleys and the physicalized nature of the world. And when you start putting it all together, which is kind of
an Anvil capital ship.
42, because
they usually do have one huge ship at CitCon. Like the Polaris, the Kraken,
we're playing it.
Pioneer.
To look at to show you
I think those are all CitCon drops, not IAE. Which IAE is November, CitCon, so
we're going to do that. It's
October-ish.
A lot of it we've already done, and we're in a position where we can go in there and play it and understand it and go, okay, let's tweak this, and let's start building on top of it of systems that we're really, confident in, technically and from a design point of view, so that we can build on top. And we've got a very clear idea how they can scale in Star Citizen, because we've got the mini environment of Squadron, like the test bed of proving it out. And I think it's going to be a real benefit to the PU for when we push these features over, because also for the developers who are just specifically PU content, they've got an example of how to use these systems.
That's why I'm thinking it's probably going to be an IAE thing, the 70-week concept. Whatever that ship is,
I think that's a big
is huge, is enormous, or it's alien, or it's both.
Some of the traversal stuff we talked about. Well, here's where you're using it in Squadron, and here's how we use these different physical elements to make an interesting game experience. And that means that the PU team that's now going, we want to do 10 of those or 100 of those, has good examples of how to use it, rather than here's a feature, you figure it out. Because again, that was a lot of things that went in were there. You know, it's like trolleys, as we use
Yep.
an example, or the
Mounted guns.
Thing is that
didn't really have
there was a bunch of racers
gameplay or use
that were going to
so,
participate in that
there's a lot
race.
more going on, in
How long do you think they've been sitting at their keyboard just waiting for the light to change? Because it's been about 2.5 hours now.
gameplay things that we're working on, because we know people saying, hey, we'd like
Yeah,
this
about 2.5 hours.
to be easier to use or smoother or more responsive, and that's absolutely we know and we're working on, and the plan is it's definitely going to be in the PU as well as Squadron, and Squadron is working on the PU too, everybody.
All right, so that was our version of a short conversation about Squadron 42 and the benefits to the persistent universe. Before we let you go and get on to wrapping up our full day of activities, Chris, any final words you want to share with the Star Citizen community about Squadron 42, its co-development of two projects, how Star Citizen? What do you got?
Well, I mean, I'd say that it's incredibly challenging trying to have develop two games side by side, also while you're building the tech as well. And it's also incredibly rewarding. I have to say that the feedback, especially on the PU side that we see all the time, really helps inform as developers what we're doing all the time. And so, and it informs what we do on the Squadron 42 side too, in terms of some of the base mechanics.
Yeah, I love Jared.
Areas that we go, okay, well, you know, we want to work on this thing and improve it. It's all the stuff we've really talked about this time. But, you know, for me, it's an incredible privilege to be building something of the level of ambition that we're doing on both
They killed my
Squadron,
dog.
but also Star Citizen. Because, you know, ultimately, I think that Star Citizen itself, in terms of an experience, in terms of how
Our version of a short conversation.
sitting inside your ship, looking at your interior here, look at this
Third of a day.
Phoenix, and walking outside onto a planet and looking at the foliage and the trees and seeing them out in the distance and walking over and being able to actually go there rather than it just be a background.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rusty, they're governed by the
scope and
Kickstarter.
scale,
That's a legally
the sense
binding
of being able
document.
to go anywhere, do anything. That is something that most game
And
engines and games generally just
Squadron 42 and the spin-offs will be what fund this thing for the next 100 years.
And, you know, we utilize,
Have it be Madden, just
Squadron to
squat
give you a sort of
and
single
let
player
one rip
experience that
every
sort of
year.
Feels like you're, you know, in a
Once the engine
huge
is made.
play environment and system that you traverse around. I mean, we talked about, you know, the various types of quantum travel you're using and all the different, you know, down to the detail mechanics of picking up something off a desk and moving it over.
Don't give him a cup.
And
He moves
being
away from
able
him.
to build a system that can do that
Jared.
for the detail and fidelity that we're telling a really rich story in Squadron, but also a huge universe that you can exist in as a sandbox for everyone to play it is a complete, I mean, from a developer's standpoint, it's a dream. I mean, it's a dream I've had, you know, my whole life. Being able to do it because we're supported by the community out there is a, you know, something I'm always eternally grateful for. And, you know, it's the best job in the world. So
PC.
as much
This
as
does
it can
not
be
sound like
difficult
it's wrapping
sometimes,
up
and
anytime
which can be
soon.
frustrating when you see everyone bitching about something or something's not working, or, you know, what kind of idiot did this, or which, you know, doesn't this person know how to run a project and all the rest of the stuff. It's still the best job in the world.
So you've read the feedback.
Well, of course, we all read the feedback. Every developer reads everything, but you know, you need a thick skin. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a vision in your mind, and we're lucky enough to be able to really fulfill that. I mean, it's a bit of a Pandora's box that got opened when we realized we had the level of support to really go all the way.
All of us have dreams about what this game is going to be, but his is the one that matters at the end of the day.
And I was pitching a much more limited, you know, sort of privateer, freelancer online, and
which is what I backed, and instead we're getting this, which is going to be amazing.
What we're building now is a completely different experience in terms of a lot more just fidelity and scope and possibility in the idea that you can do and be anything in it, and if you can think it or imagine it or see it, you can go there, do it, do all those things. That is, you know, like I said, I think there's almost nobody out there in the industry that has got the opportunity to do that. We're getting to do that here at CAG. It's thanks to everyone that's supporting the project, you know, and so, like I said, it's hard work. You know, this, you know, no one slacks off. We're working really hard. We all wish we were doing stuff.
I do give him crap, but thank you for making the game I've wanted to play since I was like,
because we're just
what,
sitting here,
16?
So we are working really hard.
Earlier, ever since I saw Star Wars.
Exciting. I mean, for me, I look at things we have in development and how far we've come. You know, how far the game itself, even Star Citizen. I mean, you know, this year there's more people playing it. There's more, you know, spending more time in the game than there was last year, than the year before. I mean, we're accelerating. I think that's partly a testimony to the game itself over the last few years has become more stable.
Who died?
It's become more performant. There's been more features and content added. So
Ed?
even though we still
Who's Ed?
have a lot of things to go, and we talked about a lot of things we want to improve.
Oh, ED. Gotcha.
Edges, but there is
really dangerous.
There that keeps people coming back.
Wow, that's
take the frustration.
rude.
Right?
Hopefully ED is not dead,
to go and do anything,
because
see anything in
ED is about the closest contemporary to this game. So
finishing that off and making that a really great experience.
I was thinking some dev died, and I was like, Ed, who's Ed?
Doing these two games together, it's also a
I would have an F9 to see if I hated him. Right.
Looking forward.
Executive edition over here.
Years, we
Knight has one too. I think he might have two.
The pike, beyond what we
F8.
Here,
Yeah.
You know, it's a good time to be making games.
It is.
Don't ask Richard.
It is a lot of fun.
Don't ask Richard.
It's I think video games, strangely, people.
Do not ask Richard, or you will talk about his cat for 2 hours, and we'll all die of old age.
Pain or whatever, but no, video games are fun. They're creative. They're expansive. They're collaborative. They're definitely iterative. And there's nothing else like it. No other industry in the world would have a weekly behind the scenes documentary series that I now get to do from a spaceship landed on one of Pyro's planets.
It's
Rich,
changing. Night.
So
It's changing. It's a screen.
Is that even though we are focused
It's a big
on
LCD.
42, we still read all of the feedback in, you know, in
The
Spectrum,
window.
online, the comments or Reddit. So a lot of that feedback that's been come to the game over the years, you know, we've taken that on board, and we're starting to execute on that feedback with some of the systems that are not as forefront in people's minds, such as like the interaction system and how you interface with the game and controls and the action queuing and traversal. And I think the biggest takeaway for me when we start to look at all these features is that don't think of it as feature. It's we're making the game.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that we're starting to put that game together.
That's true.
Sit down and play it. And while Star Citizen, you know, there already is a game there, this is about, you know, making what's there even better and making sure that all the things that new players have had frustrations with, that we're smoothing them over and removing the friction. And then about injecting that new features on top that's going to just enhance it even further. So I think it's, you know, in the next few years, it's going to be really exciting times. As Chris said, there's lots of things in the pipe. And I think some of the things that come online will be real game changers to not necessarily what you do, because that's going to be delivered by the content and the features and ships, but how you do it and how you interface with the game. And I think that's going to be a huge improvement. And I think that will
EVA alone,
if you're a developer,
would make this year worth it.
Because you've got to make sure that your game
I really hope that drops to 318. 319 is more likely, but
and I think that's where
really hoping we get that EVA for 318.
Squadron 42, so that we can then map that over to
And then, of course, the only thing I want to add is that everything you see here today is work in progress.
Jared's mic.
We've removed some of the locations and aspects where you would see them to protect for spoilers and story elements of the game. But all this stuff is coming to the persistent universe at one point. The stuff we've been able to show you, the stuff we haven't been able to show you, today. And if you were surprised by the skills part in particular, like we just kind of snuck that in there before the Moby-Glass, rest assured we will be following up on the skills conversation with visuals and a more in-depth discussion of how that'll work and how you'll interact with that and stuff as we get closer to being able to do so. So if you've already gone to Spectrum or Reddit or your YouTube thumbnail and added little red laser eyes to Richard Tyrer, that last part's okay, but everything else, we just ask that you hang tight and give us the benefit of the doubt. It'll be fine. So yeah, so thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rich, for taking the time to talk a little bit of Squadron 42 with us and how it'll affect the PU. We are just about to wrap up our entire CitizenCon day here. But before we do, I want to throw it back to a video that we opened today's show with. It was a bunch of our developers and staff at our 5 studios around the world talking about their favorite things of the Star Citizen community. So
yeah, I kind of need to wrap this.
And when we come back, we'll put this whole baby to bed. So take a look.
Tell you what my favorite thing about the community is?
What am I gonna say?
It's gonna sound cliche, but
they believe as much as we do.
I love them because they continue to support us. It's
Still
the only
here.
thing that's kept me going.
I've seen a lot of games and I've seen a lot of invested players, but
they're right there with us throughout the whole process.
It's unlike anything I've ever worked on.
The thing I really like the most about the community is how welcoming they are.
To new players entering the verse for the first time.
New players come every day, and I find that
they're always happy to show people the ropes.
I found it very wholesome.
When I first did the CitizenCon, where I got to fly the Carrack, everyone was so supportive, and the cheers I got when we were flying through that wormhole was unbelievable.
Their effort they put into, like their creativity.
Such as building a simulator inside of an entire RV or...
The cinemas, I love watching them on my lunch break.
I enjoy watching the videos and the content.
Yes. There was one recently on Twitter where it was like the 100 players entering the atmosphere that just looks really grand.
That's pretty cool.
I love all
Trolley
the
did that.
Some of the incredible fan art and passionate drive that you see come out of them is fantastic.
How they come up with crazy ideas each and every day and surprise me.
I really like all the crazy shenanigans they get up to in the PU.
I can't cuss, can I?
The new and exciting ways they find to
break shit.
Just the random stuff that you do, it's not like the gameplay we intend.
People doing crazy stunts in their ships.
I'm from the character team. That's why I think it's cool when they show off all the ships, because that's really the only time I get to see them.
They create the community by themselves, and that's really, really cool.
My favorite thing about the community around events.
Going to Bar Citizen. It's always fun to meet some of the backers.
They've all been lovely to me in person. Even if they're like really frustrated, you can tell it's just, they have so much love for it.
I really like it when the community is very detail-oriented about our work.
To see how excited they are about our progress.
How much inspiration we get from them, from their ideas.
I love the genuine enthusiasm.
The quick turnaround on feedback. I love that.
And how they're always interested in what's coming up. I especially appreciate the people who are able to keep track of dates.
They, call us out.
It really
talk about
impacts our decision-making process for, what did we do right? What did we do wrong?
It is the most rewarding thing in the entire development process.
We're not making the game alone. We're making it with the community.
Still keep fighting us.
They really do make all this possible. I'm living the dream. We all are.
My favorite thing about the community, it'd be impossible for me to narrow it down to one. And if somebody said you had to, I'd probably just turn and walk away.
And the community is at the heart of everything that Star Citizen is. So we've got one final addition before we wrap this up. The Community Hub was first introduced way back when, in 2015, 2016. I thought I had it, but I'm realizing I don't remember.
This is one of the unannounced on the roadmap.
Some TLC, some extra handling for some time. And finally, we're about to roll out Community Hub 2.0. So I'll throw it to Tyler and our friends at Turbulent to tell you more.
As long as they don't delete all of my old posts like they did when they switched this new one.
Hi everyone, my name is Tyler Whitkin and I'm the Director of Community at Cloud Imperium Games. Each and every day we're taken aback by the tremendous amount of creative community content coming from all of you. From a small 3D printed MSR that fits in the palm of your hand, to a full-size replica sandcastle of a 300i. No joke, someone actually did that. In fact, maybe they can pop it up right here. Wow. On the community side, we've always felt that if our developers were going to push the boundaries of what's possible with technology, that we needed to match that level of ambition with the engagement and tools that we provide to help the community thrive. With the incredible amount of creative content flowing from our community, it was a no-brainer that we needed to find a better way to support that. So, we've teamed up with our good friends at Turbulent to completely rebuild the community hub, and we're very excited to show it to you today. The team has been hard at work and focused on building out a
Turbulent doesn't make the best web
that will make
pages.
both sharing and browsing content easier than ever before.
To build this community hub, we really try to keep the Star Citizen identity, see what was good for the community and what they would like.
This is where most people will go when they want to search for new content or discover new people who play Star Citizen and make posts in the community hub. So it's a very good place to engage with others.
We want the community of Star Citizen to have this space that they deserve outside of the game, to keep talking and creating about the game, share and comment with each others.
Now, I know I'm a little biased, but for these reasons and for many others, I believe that the Star Citizen community is the best and the most creative community in all of gaming. In fact, if you agree, go ahead and drop an 07 in chat. Go ahead. By the way, this bit is pre-recorded, so I'm going to assume that you are spamming chat like crazy right now. Thank you. Don't let me down.
When creating a new post, you'll be able to choose between
watching
three
chat.
post options. So that would be an audio, a video, and an image type of post. Inside of them, you'll be able to obviously put a title and description in there, but also to pick and choose from a variety of different categories your post relates to. And that comes and play into the Discover page.
On the Discover page, you can browse over all the content. You can also filter content with your preferences. For example, if I want to see only videos that are about cosplay, I can now filter that and find only videos about cosplay. And I can also sort them by popularity or by date.
When you first arrive on the Community Hub, you arrive on the homepage, which features top trending content as well as posts from people you follow. Because yes, you can now follow people on the new Community Hub. You have a live stream section, which you can see the top players who play Star Citizen right now. You have a tutorial section also on the front page, and there's also the sidebar.
And it's not just all about screenshots, videos, and crafts. It's also about the human connection we make with like-minded spacefarers that we've met along the way. It's about friendship. Personally, for me, I've made countless meaningful connections with so many people that I otherwise never would have met outside of this community. And many of those connections I know I will cherish and carry with me for the rest of my life. And I'm confident that many of you have similar stories, which is exactly why it was vital to us to find better ways to keep you all connected with one another.
The Community Hub is a place of creativity and exchange between all the Star Citizen players.
The team has put a lot of work in it. We're working on it since quite a long time. We really put a lot of love and care in this, and we really hope the community will enjoy as much as us.
Please don't hate our creation.
Dive in, check out all the new features, break the new features. It's okay, it's part of the process. And as always, we want to hear your thoughts, so make sure to head over to our dedicated feedback thread on Spectrum and let us know what you think. And this is just the beginning. We've got so many cool things planned for the months ahead, such as site-wide notifications, a massive shared content calendar where you can sort between official CIG events and community-created and organized events, and so much more. And the best part about the new Community Hub? It's live right now.
Oh my god. I don't think I've ever really taken part in the Community Hub.
And if I'm not mistaken, that new version of the Community Hub should be pushing live right about now. Or now. I don't know what time my watch is saying. It says it's like 12:30 in the morning. One last thing before we let you go, because we got more endings than a Lord of the Rings movie. Atmo Esports is running our 10th anniversary racing event. The new Bash.
It ended an hour and a half ago.
Or something like that. That's immediately following this stream. We got a short video just telling you a little bit about who they are and what they do. So let's throw it to Atmo.
So this will be Atmo, and then we'll get the SVT.
Atmo Esports operates a little differently. Born from emergent community events like the Demo Rally, the natural progression was to create esports events within an emergent environment.
Never taken part in the community hub, and I never will. I think I have 2 posts on there. They're about 7 years old. I think Knight had a post on there that's about 7 years old, and that's about the only time I ever looked at. I don't know. Maybe I'll look at the new one. I don't know.
Events within massive sandbox gaming environments, and we work with talented community gamers to supply supporting roles such as camera crew, shoutcasters.
They do have some cool races in the verse.
Our team is a group of passionate professionals from all over the world, all with gaming in their veins. We operate purely online, and everything we do is created collaboratively.
It's gonna change the way we play the game.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And well, that's it. Another CitizenCon in the bag. The debut of our new home
does
for our
that
evergreen
say?
recurring weekly video content in the
Enhance.
foreseeable future. Hope you enjoyed it. There's a ton of information that I'm sure is going to feed our content creators in the community for months and months to come. But the last word on things shouldn't come from me. Let's throw it over to the peanut gallery, to our esteemed group of guests and visitors. Chris. Oh, I should. Hold on. Let me get in here. There we go.
Get in here. Get in here.
Hey, what do you want to say?
I think I've said quite a lot already. I don't really need to see that much more.
You can do like 10, 15 minutes more.
Well, let me start with back in 2012. All I'm going to say is that we wouldn't be here without all of you out there that have supported us over these years and believed in the project and the world and the universe that we're doing. I know everyone that
I'm gonna cry.
In the community out here really appreciates the sense of support that everyone puts in from your side and also from our side into the project. So we really appreciate that. This year's CitizenCon didn't quite have the big flashy demos that we've had in the past, but that's mostly because we've got a huge amount of people heads down working on getting Persistent Energy streaming out and 318, which hopefully we're going to go to Evocati this coming week, right, Aaron, we think, maybe?
We're absolutely working on it.
All right, so we'll see Guillaume over here. He's not Mike, so he can't really say much, but he's our Director of Development on Star Citizen Live. So we're working hard on that for this year, and that's going to be a massive patch with a lot of really cool features and gameplay in it. And of course, we're working very hard on Squadron 2.
So Rusty says, not gonna lie, they know how to make a good trailer, right?
It's been an amazing ride. So
if you get a chance, if you like Space Tomato, he has an ad for his org.
Thank you very much.
I've got my own org, but his trailer is amazing. I'm very jealous. Salute!
Let's throw it to Atmo. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye. So now they should have the SVT up any second now. All right, gang. Well, thanks for joining me for that really long close. Let's see if they actually throw it to them. I'm going to refresh the CitCon page here. Come over here for a second. Let's see if they actually have it on here. If it's still just there's the spirit. Nope, doesn't look like it's on there yet, but it will be later today. So I did take a couple notes, but I'm not going to subject everyone to long-winded talking points at this point. Chris and Richard kind of sandblasted that out of existence. The only thing that I want to talk about, and I'll probably do a later post on this, just a shallow dive, is on the Lorville neighborhoods. A little disappointed in that one. Still looks cool concept art, but was kind of hoping for a little bit more. Knight brought up station interiors, which I totally agree with him on. And I guess that's it. Let's head back here real quick. 7 minutes. No, we're not doing that. So let me go ahead and mute this. you be quiet. Even though you guys, I'm really jealous of their abilities to do stuff, and guessing that was After Effects. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for keeping chat alive. And I'll see y'all next time. And let's see. I'll probably doing a shallow dive. I don't think I'll do a deep dive because, good God, Richard and Chris had their own little deep dive there. I might do a little shallow dive into some of the things they said, just kind of pull out the meaty bits. But yeah, I won't keep you here any longer than you have to be. It's already 1:30 here on the left coast. So thanks for watching, and see me next time.